What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the number one outdoor podcast in the world, Past the Barb. Today is Thursday, June 26th. We're coming to you a couple days late because June has been a busy month for the boys. And right now, I am Adam Bartusek. I'm hosting tonight, and I'm joined by my great friend, Mr. Sam Sobi. Sobi, what's up?
Howdy. Just like you said, June has been freaking wild, but for all the right reasons. I feel like anybody that lives in the Midwest, they deal with this. They pack a year's worth of fun into the 3 awesome months that we basically get. And that's what the boys and us have been doing. We've been living outside, living on the road, living fishing, making a lot of content, and been enjoying ourselves. So welcome to the number one outdoor podcast in the world. Please like, share, follow. We appreciate it. We've got awesome guests tonight and a lot of awesome stuff coming down the pipeline. So happy days.
Yeah, man. We got to catch up a little bit on kind of what's been going on in your life. But we first got to touch base on. So last podcast, for people who are here who maybe didn't listen, go to the last podcast. It's a great one.
It is a great one.
Me, Pink, and Pangrack recap my bachelor party for like an hour and a half. And there's a bunch of like fishing industry behind the scenes of the tournament bass industry talk in it as well. It's a really good episode. Definitely listen to it. But Sobi was also at the bachelor party. We haven't heard from Sobi in like a month. So we kind of got to recap what's been going on in Sobi's life. Because like, dude, we did a podcast and we were like, yeah, we're going to Vermilion First Champions Tour. This will be cool. And it's a month later. So like, what has happened?
Basically, right after we shot that podcast, I like left my house and then I got back like not long ago. I've been like on the road. I shot up and did the Champions Tour in Lake Vermilion. It was freaking incredible. Everyone smashed them. I smashed them and got like 35th place out of 70 dudes, and I smashed them.
You almost caught 100 pounds.
I almost caught 100 pounds of smallmouth bass. And I got 35th place. Like, boom. I was catching them so fast. I wasn't even talking to my marshal. Like, what place am I in? After the first half, we were running and gunning the whole time. Got back with like a minute to spare. I'm like, yo, dude, we did pretty good. Where are we at? And he's like, welcome to 40th place. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, it was incredible. Everybody smashed them.
There had to have been some part of you in your brain like, why haven't I seen a camera boat yet? Like, I'm blistering them. Someone should be coming to film me.
This is the best I've ever done. I'm catching them faster than I've ever caught them in one of these events, and I'm getting like wasted. Like, not wasted, but like middle of the pack. So yeah, it was incredible. The weather lined up where like so many smallmouth just push shallow, a lot of bed fishing, a lot of just cruising fish on hair. And yeah, some still pre-spawn on jerk baits, and then a lot on the nest. And then right after that, I was staying with good buddy Hayes. He's a guide up on Vermilion, so I got to spend about this much time with him. I bounced in the truck and then boom to Bart's bachelor party, which was so freaking awesome. I don't want to like reiterate anything that was already reiterated, but it was amazing. It was amazing. Like so many awesome shenanigans stories, but if I had to wrap it up, I would say the venue was incredible. This Airbnb, we like owned the whole point on this beautiful remote smallmouth lake in Ely, Minnesota. We were like isolated there. It's like all of us boys were isolated and we were just drinking beers, having campfires, catching smallmouth, catching walleye, BSing, staying up until the sun came up. Everybody got along great. The food was incredible. Amazing. It was a 11 out of 10 bachelor party. And then from there, I bounced right.
Well, so I know we talked about a bunch of stuff in that pod, but what was your favorite moment?
Oh, man.
Like, there's got to be one story we had.
Well, anything with Andrew Ozalski is like definitely probably one of my favorite moments. Such a wild card, but so awesome. He's there. He loves, just like Panger said, he loves fishing more than anybody. Fishing more than anybody.
The best quote of the last podcast was, "Some people do cocaine, Spock fishes."
Yes, that is a straight up quote.
Same effects. Yeah, for sure. dude. And then so we left there, and then we ate some lunch. And I called you when we were both driving, and I was like, that was like a good decision, but also a terrible decision because I am so tired right now.
Oh,
Like
yes.
driving is
You're saying
so
as we left
difficult.
the bachelor party. Yeah.
Yes, like you got like an hour into your drive heading south, and it was like, this is not good.
Oh, we went to this cool place and they had steak sandwiches, and like majority of the folks got them, and it was like a full steak and it was just in between a bun. And we were all like, mending our wounds from staying up till I think Bart, and a couple other boys listened to tunes and watched the sun come up the day before.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Like it was getting light out when we went to bed, so we're all like dead, and then we eat all this big meal and we're just like driving home in the rain like, oh please, Jesus, take the wheel. But it was so good though. Like you had an amazing bachelor party. Did you have like an awesome time?
Oh yeah, I had a great time, dude. It was crazy. Like we were there for a while, but it feels like it went so fast.
Yeah.
At the same time. Like it just was the blink of an eye, but it was great. But yeah, so then after that you ran down to Brainerd, right?
I want to say this. So yeah, when I ran down to Brainerd, I was hanging out with some folks down there, and I was saying I just came from a bachelor party, and a lot of those guys, they have, wives or significant others, and they're like, "Aren't bachelor parties awesome?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Awesome." And they're like, "I don't think we realize how lucky we are that we're guys, because all those guys had stories of bachelorette parties, and they're like, it's such a drama fest. You know what I mean? They get cliquey. It's a drama fest.
Oh, yeah.
Girls will get in fights. Like, dude, this bachelor party was like everyone was just having a good time.
We parked on an island and all just drank way too much,
fished too much,
and just never left the point.
Yeah, we're all chilling.
Yeah.
Biggest decisions were like, yo, like, do I go out fishing or should I just like sit at this campfire?
And that was also the hardest decision to make because you had Spock over your shoulder just going, go fishing.
Go fishing. Yeah, Spock. Yeah. What was the biggest hurdle at the bachelor party? Spock.
What was the biggest enjoyment of the bachelor party? Spock.
Oh, but yeah, I went to Gull Lake and did a kind of a hummingbird shoot. It was cool. It was like a kind of like a content creation type shoot, doing some short form and some long form and some photos. Got to take Tom Boley bass fishing. Any of you listeners out there from the Midwest who might be into walleye fishing, you may have heard of Tom Boley. He is just like strictly a walleye angler, walleye content creator. And I got him in the boat bassing, and we skipped docks, and I feel like I converted him.
Dude, I watched your video briefly. I didn't get through the whole thing, but watching Tom trying to skip a dock was remarkably funny.
It was awesome. Dude, it was more like everyone was excited for this video, but even like the folks at Hummingbird, everybody was like, yo, you're Tom, you and Tom are going bass fishing. I'm like, yes, dude. He is my partner. Tom and I are going bass fishing. They're like, really? I'm like, yes. It was like a major win. It feels like he called his fiance afterwards, and he told her, he's like, yo, I just went frog fishing. And she was like, you okay? And he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm okay. So it
Who
was
has
awesome.
a gun pointed at your head right
yeah,
now?
like, are you in a safe place? Blink twice. No, but it was good. It was all a good time. Yeah. And one crazy thing, I thought this was cool. One of the evenings, somebody had to leave or whatever. Doug Wagner, a guest of Past the Barb and a very famous Midwest multi-species guide, muskie guide. He came in my boat a little bit and we were throwing topwater for smallmouth. And Doug is in the front of my boat using a walking bait. First thing that makes Doug sound super lame. I wish I had this on video. Doug was like, oh, I forget how much work this is on your wrist. And I was like, I need to have this on recording. Like, he throws giant rods, back-breaking type musky baits all day, and he was twitching at like a walking bait, a spook. And he's like, oh, I forget how hard this is on the wrist.
That's because all he works is baits with every day is his forearm.
Yeah.
Pulling rubber.
But then right after he said that, boom, a huge explosion happened. And we're like, oh, big smallmouth. He's like, dude, like 24-inch walleye. A 24-inch walleye ate his like spook.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. If I wouldn't have seen it with my own eyes, I probably wouldn't have believed it. So that was something that stood out to me. I was like, that was cool to see.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think he put something on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, give Sobi a hard time," and he's like, "I just caught a walleye and a spook." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so then after that, you come
yes,
back home, and then
yeah.
is it Tourney Tuesday begins?
I came back home, boom, right to Tourney Tuesday, and I had previously missed the first two Tourney Tuesdays just because I've been on the road and gone.
And Ryan had crushed it at him.
Yes, Ryan and Connor, I think they got 5th place in the first one, which is an awesome finish on a stingy lake right out the gate. And then Ryan and Brock got 2nd place, frogging, right after that. And then Brock and I, boom, jumped right into Tourney Tuesday, right during a pond weed time of year. Really, really weird. On this lake that we fished, I have Facebook time hop pictures that show Brock and I winning a tournament out there 5 years ago, all on drop shots. And Brock and I proceeded to throw nothing but basically a frog, and we got 2nd place on a frog. So it was freaking cool.
That's sweet.
And then right after that, boom, I shot up and I did this Onyx fish shoot. And that was an incredible experience too. It was a whole multi-species slam. It was myself and this guy named PFP, Panfish Phil, and he knew the lake. He was the local. I was the so-called pro. We were doing the local versus pro. And basically I show up blind. He's known the lake his whole life. I have to compete against him in bass, pike, walleyes, bluegills, and crappies. 1-day derb. And that was intimidating, but really, really fun format.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Very cool. When will that be out?
I don't know. That'll be on probably Onyx Fish's channel sometime. I don't know if this year, next year, or when. I don't know.
At some point in time.
At some point, yeah. But I was just excited. I caught some walleyes because I'm like, still super noob walleye angler. You know what I mean? Like, I love multi-species, but like, I'm a bass man. Like, I was just pumped to get some walleyes in, some bluegills, and everything.
Gotcha. All right. So then we're almost caught up. So then this week, Tourney Tuesday again.
This week, Tourney Tuesday again. And obviously been bouncing around so much. No practice. No practice, no pre-fish. Went in blind on a lake that's really stingy. And I'm not saying how we did, but we got onto a punching bite. We were punching cheese, like punching straight up mats. 1 ounce weight. And that's like, I think that's like the sickest way to catch a bass. One of them. So
that's awesome. Okay. So then that one will be coming out in, I don't know, in the future.
In the future,
point,
yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're here today. And tomorrow you leave again.
Tomorrow I leave again to go to the Champions Tour down in La Crosse.
Okay, so are you? We'll have our guest join us in a sec here, but we have to know. So heading to La Crosse, are you excited? I know you probably haven't had much time to even think about this event yet, which is also probably a little worrisome. But how you feeling heading to La Crosse?
I feel I want to go like blissful ignorance. I feel like the river is so complex and forever changing, and that is really scary. But at the same token, I have such little experience out there, and I'm going into it.
You fished a college derby in La Crosse, though, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I fished a college derby in La Crosse, but it's like that was years ago. I'm going into it feeling a little intimidated, but excited because I'm thinking it might go down on a frog or at least shallow water banging, and that just has kind of been what I've been doing recently. I love to fish offshore, but like that's what I've been doing recently, like frogging and flipping and getting greasy. So I'm excited for it. I hope I fare well. It's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be freaking cool. I hope. What do you think is going to go down there?
It's either going to be really good or really terrible.
Ooh.
In the sense of like, because there's a lot. So for people that didn't know, we just got a ton of storms that have rolled through the area, like all of Minnesota over the past week. Shout out to all our Bemidji listeners too. I know we got a huge fan base up in Bemidji. They got murked by straight line winds, and I don't know if there's any confirmed tornadoes or not that went down, but like Bemidji forever changed. Like a lot of trees gone, a lot of stuff damaged. So I think they're just started getting back power a few days ago in most of the city. But yeah, shout out to all our Bemidji homies. I know we're all thinking of you. And yeah, crazy. The pictures out of Bemidji were nuts.
I will say, if you have to look at it glass half full, because it is a pretty poor situation, that's just really devastating what happened to Bemidji. If you have to look at it glass half full, if there's one town in the state of Minnesota that probably has a ton of chainsaws, it's probably Bemidji, Minnesota.
Yeah,
so, like,
they were well, like, dude, dads like rolled out of bed and they were like, today's my Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and they're like they got the chainsaw out, they put the gas in it, they pulled on it, it started, and they were like, we go.
They look at that statue downtown of Paul Bunyan and they just go, uh-huh.
I know the mission.
I know the mission. But yeah, shout out and thoughts and prayers go out to our folks in Bemidji, Minnesota.
Yeah, thinking of all you, and also low key, if any of you have any firewood you want to get rid of, like, hit me up. So I need some for my house. So shameless plug right there. I will take some wood from you if you need me to. But yeah, no, shout out to all the boys. But yeah, so with that, anyways, there's been a ton of rain that's come through. I think La Crosse has gotten hit pretty hard the last 2 days. Water's definitely gonna come up. Flow's definitely going to come up. I think I saw that the water is going to get about to action stage, which that it's not flood stage. Like, all the islands are good and everything, but that basically means that, like, developed shoreline is going to start getting water on it. So we'll have to keep an eye out. There might be a couple new areas that'll have no wake zones on them because of high water, but I don't think it's going to get that high.
Okay.
But basically, anytime that happens, especially post spawn, they're gonna suck back in. So they're gonna go try to get somewhere away from the current. They're not, like, they'll be kind of in the current, but they're not quite ready to be in the current. Largemouth specifically. And it's also lining up exactly with the time of year where they should start schooling up and eating a frog. So wherever they're gonna get pushed to, there's going to be a lot of them. And yeah, I interviewed Cade to write the preview article, and that's what he was saying. He was like, it could be really good, but it's lining up, or it could be really bad too, but it's lining up with the way the fish are acting that, like, there will be a magic frog hole somewhere. It's just a matter of if someone finds it or not. Because I mean, there's just so much water, and once the water gets high, there's even more water.
Yeah.
So
that's exciting because I feel like it's less sketchy, and you also
there's definitely still stuff to hit, but you'll be able to get around a little bit easier.
But knowing there's like a magic frog hole out there is gonna, like, keep a person pretty hungry.
There should be, that's what I would expect. Like, me going there filming, in my brain, it's either going to get one on a Ned rig on a bunch of 14-inch, 1 pound, 2 ounce smallmouth, or a frog. Dang, and it could be both.
Sweet to crush on the frog. I would love a
and depending how dirty the water gets, there could be like a chatterbait over eelgrass or a spook over eelgrass or stuff like that. But I don't, just based on the water level and conditions, I don't know, but I would imagine a frog, like, this will be, it should be the first time a frog is, like, really played in a Champions Tour event.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, where you can go to work on them, because they should be wadded up, like, where you get into a 10-pack and a duckweed mat, and yeah, should be pretty cool, hopefully. So that, I am excited to film that. Yeah, it'll be a good time to get down to La Crosse. What are your hopes, fears, dreams for La Crosse?
Hopes, it goes down on the frog. Fears, it's really stingy and it's really hard to locate them. Dreams, I find the magic frog hole, and it's not good everywhere.
I like that. All right, what's the number one? We're just a real quick test for you, quick Sobi, before we bring our guest in. What is the number one rule of navigating the Mississippi River? Actually, we'll give you like 3 rules, but we'll go with the number one rule. It's the number one rule of navigating the Mississippi River. There's certain team trail people or people listening to this pod right now screaming at their car radio. Matt Voigt is screaming at his car radio right now.
Number one rule: follow Lake Master in the channels.
No, that's a really bad idea because there's no depth contours when you get off the main channel. So
no, I mean like in
the
main channel, like follow Lake Master in the main channel.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, don't hit a wing dam.
Red
I
right
feel like
returning.
That's pretty obvious. No. Okay, this is good. This is good. We had this quiz.
Okay, this is good. I'll write it down.
Take notes. Yeah. Never try to get into somewhere going down current.
Okay.
Because when you get stuck, it is way harder to get out.
That's like seems like really common knowledge until you rip around the boat and you're like, oh, I should check over there. And you're like, wait, never try to get into somewhere going down current. I like that. That's good advice.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it, but like you just need to know you're running the risk of if you do get stuck, you now not only have to push off a sandbar, but you have to push off a sandbar up current because you're not going to make it over it.
What if you go in reverse?
I mean, that's a good way to ruin your motor. And okay, so that's rule number 1. What's rule number 2?
I don't know.
If you're running 55 miles an hour and all of a sudden you feel your motor like start digging and you look down and you're like, oh no, I'm in sand. You don't let go of the throttle. You hit it harder, actually.
Keep going.
Yeah. If all of a sudden you're like running and like you feel your motor start getting weird and like you're like, oh, I'm too shallow right now. Yeah, you are. Go.
Pin it through the sand.
And then rule number 3, shout out to Corey Houck and Brian Harmon. What's the other rule, Sobi?
I don't know. I'm a river noob.
All right. Then we'll bring in our guest. You only have to miss it by a 1/4 inch.
Oh my gosh, dude. These were like, dude, this is like, I'm a natural lake boy, dude. This is so freaky. I don't even like talking like that.
Welcome to the Mississippi River, baby. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited to get down there. But all right, we got a great guest tonight. It's going to be a ball of a time. Sobi, you get to do the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome our guest. He is an industry mogul, a walleye fishing fiend, a multi-species slammer, doing everything and anything on all sides of the industry, open water and ice fishing, a content creator that both Adam and I look up to. He's staying definitely on the cutting edge, not only with short form, with long form, but with live streams as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Lindner. Woo-woo. Oh, yeah. Look at his background, dude. Yes. Yes, dude. That's the kind of heat. Yes. And
now Randy's really going to hate us.
Yeah. Just here we go. Please. That's a round of applause.
Oh, man.
That's the kind of gas this guy brings. Look at his background.
I think Sobi forgot one of your accolades, Nick. Didn't you, if I remember correctly, didn't you win the MLF Fantasy Fishing one year or something that?
Go ahead.
No, like I think I remember one of the first few years you like won the whole thing or took a top 3. There was like 100 of us playing potentially, but do you remember what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I feel like we were in the same group and you went on like a remarkable tear.
I used to do, so I do the fantasy fishing, right? But back when it was like FLW fantasy fishing.
Yeah, it was way at the beginning.
I consistently dominated that, honestly. Like I never won it, but I was always top 10 every year. So like every year, usually like first place just gets some stupid amount of money, right? Like I don't even remember what it was, like 20 grand or 30 grand or something. And then second would get like 5, and then third would get like 1 grand or something. So it would kind of work its way down, right? So I feel like every year I would make like $500 or like $1,000. So like third or fourth or whatever. And then like Tackle Warehouse sends you like 4 giant boxes of probably like overstock products that, you know, they're just looking to get rid of. So I got just giant piles of boxes of random random old baits and all that good stuff.
What was the secret to competing year after year?
And
on
that was back when, so if people don't remember, when FLW did it, and Nick, you can correct me because you were better than me at this, but they had it, didn't you have to bid? Because there was like certain price values for people. So it was like, you know, if it was Brian Thrift on Norman or something, he was like $30, or John Cox on Okeechobee was $50, and you only had $100 allotment.
Exactly.
So you had to like, right? That's what it was?
Yes. So now like Bassmaster is like super brain dead. Like with theirs, it's like, oh, here's 5 buckets and pick one person in each. And it's just, I mean, it's just, there's not like a lot of course there's strategy, right? But it's not as deep as, so before, like FLW had by far the best fantasy setup. And I think whoever was like in charge of it over there, like did a lot of like DFS fantasy stuff and like was a hardcore fantasy person.
Yeah, they made it super legit. I would agree.
Yes. And so you described it super good. So like the very biggest favorites would have cost like $40 or something. Wow. And then like someone who it's like, yeah, they're going to bomb would be worth like $1, or maybe there was a minimum of $5. I can't remember, but they had it all graded, and it was like some combination of like how good these people are on these fisheries, and then also like AOI as well. Like, you know, they've been doing really, really good every event, so they're higher. So then you'd like build your lineup out of that, and so it's like some combination of like, oh well, we're in Florida, and like this guy always does good in Florida, or like we're in Florida and like this guy's a rookie, but you just know he's good at fishing grass and flipping and stuff, even though he's not from down south.
Yeah, the key was like finding, if you had like 2 or 3 guys who were like $13 to $17, like right, there were those mid-tier guys, you know, like it would be bucket C of the Bassmaster now.
Sure.
But you would try to find like 3 of them because they're a good bang for the buck, but they might finish in the top 10. Because then you could swing on like a $40 person or something, like you had to add it up. So you would like try to pick your lineup, and then all of a sudden you're $5 over the budget. So you'd like have to go back and try to finagle your way. Like there was actual like an hour-long process.
But you got $100 for each tournament?
It might have been 200 or whatever it figured out to be. But the idea is that like you could technically afford like a couple of the top guys, and then, you know, a few of the middle guys, and then maybe a couple of the worst or whatever. But the real like hack though, what I really like to do is if you could find the guys who are extremely cheap, but it's like, yeah, I think he'll get like third, you know, if you could find like a couple of those guys, and then you could pay up and you could get like, you know, if like, why is Brian Thrift this cheap, you know? And then you could like grab Brian Thrift instead of one of your mid guys. So that was like what I like to do, is get the cheap guys and then get some of the studs, or, you know, the cheap guys are going to do well. But yeah, the way Bassmaster is now, I mean, it's still neat, but like, man, you could dig really deep on like the lower dollar guys back with the FLW, which was kind of fun to like.
That's the strategic.
Dude, I went through so many BFL results. Guys, like you're like, where's this guy even from? And you're just looking through. You're so like,
the best was those low dollar guys, and you look at just their results, and maybe, you know, it's in Oklahoma and this guy's from, you know, New England or whatever, but you're just looking at his results and you're like, this guy is actually just a crazy good angler. Like, and you know, the rankings don't know this yet, or like the budgets don't know this yet or whatever. But so anyway, that was a fun era, but
yeah. So sorry, that was a random side tangent, but I was like, I remember being in the same fantasy group. It was like you, me, and Jody, was he working there yet? Jody might have been in it. But yeah, there was like a group of us, and I was like, oh, I don't even know if Sobi knew we did this. But yeah, I remember every week, I think Waldo was in it, but I remember vividly like every week logging in and being like, oh, weird, Nick won again. Like, in our group.
You know, not to brag or anything, but right now I am 54th on Bassmaster as well. So
whoa,
dude, I'm a little hot. this year.
You're hot.
Yeah.
Did you hear last year what Pink got up to before he he crumbled to the pressure? Heading into the okay, so this is a new you're good. Are you going to?
Yep, I got this. Ready? No.
Okay.
Things that
Oh yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, things that well, what's the concept?
Okay, the concept is Sobi goes to the bathroom all the time when we have guests, so we just rip on him, and we have a list of things that will take longer than Sobi's time to proposal than we've been running with. Nick, take it away.
Okay, Pink quitting his day job and doing fishing industry stuff full time.
Yep, that's a good one. That is good.
Okay, so this one's kind of fun. But it's actually happening now. The DNR finally deciding to open up year-round catch and release bass fishing in Minnesota.
Yeah, that would have been a very good one. Now it is happening though. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, we had our fun, but
yeah. So, no, I mean, so when you pick Easton Fothergill, you need him to do good, you know. So, no, that was my.
yeah, for sure. But like, so Pink last year, dude. What happened was, I think we were heading. Sobi, was it like the second to last tournament? Or the third to last. It was at the end of the year, and Pink was just on a tear of all tears.
He was murdering.
And all of a sudden we're like, holy shit, Pink, you're in third nationally. Like third nationally, heading into like the second to last event. And then he scored like a 650 on like whatever smallmouth venue it was. And yeah, he totally blew it. But yeah, he did get up to that point at one point. But okay, so now getting away from talking about
hold on
fantasy fishing accolades.
Last accolade of Nick's that I did not add into the docket is
we're just really stroking the ego right now.
He's humble about this, but I think he has probably top 5 best stashes north of the Mason-Dixon.
He has a good stash.
He said
it's a clean stash.
And he brought it back, dude. I saw him a couple weeks ago and it was gone. And I was like, no. And then he brought it back, which maybe it didn't take him long. Maybe it wasn't a big undertaking.
I don't know if I have a good stash, but sometimes I can have one.
It's a good stash.
My problem with my mustache is like, I don't know that I was like super born to have a mustache because like when I'll shave my face, I'll always leave the mustache for the end. And then I look at it and I'm like, is this it? You know, like, is this going to work? And usually I look at it and be like, no, it's all messed up. It's all misshapen. So I don't know. Yeah, but that's that.
No, I think it's good. Keep it. And I think it's good branding too. It's freaking good. It's cool.
So what else are we going to talk about today? Are we going to wrap this up? Is this good?
I think
we're good. We covered. Yeah, I think we covered. Subscribe to our socials, and that's it. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, no. Let's dive in a little bit to. I mean, we're taking away the light, but you have the Garmin perfectly placed.
Bring it back. Bring it back. Oh yeah.
There we go. Okay, more imaging. I like this. We'll just keep this running. Okay, yeah. Anyways, all right, Nick. Obviously, I think a lot of people are just very intrigued too to hear about your story, how you got into this. I mean, there's no way of beating around the bush. Obviously, people know your last name. So like you grew up in the industry, obviously. Like, what was it like growing up in a household that was literally the Lindners? Because like it was just like dad, grandpa, uncle to you, and we're all like, wow.
Yeah, no, that's So obviously like fished a lot, right? Like I would say when I was like really young, I was definitely super into ball sports for sure. So playing baseball for sure, but like basketball and football as well and all that. So did that a lot in high school, you know, fished a lot through high school, obviously too. Like I have memories of being like 7 years old and it's November and there's probably ice on the lakes, I would think, but I'm tucked away in the boat, muskie fishing on the Mississippi River and like basically dragged along probably just so my dad could have an extra sucker, floating out behind the boat.
Yeah.
So I have memories of that, like going like I would say my parents or my dad definitely didn't like gently nurture my fishing love, like it was like super hardcore for sure. Like I remember being pretty young too, maybe like early teens, and just like helping them practice for tournaments and stuff, being in the boat practice, and it's just like going through super rough conditions, going super fast, And now, like as an
Yeah.
adult, I don't even know that many people who like rip across the lake when the conditions are bad. Most people slow down and take it easy across the lake, but I just remember being like 12, ripping across Lake St. Clair,
Dang.
going super fast, helping dad practice for a tournament after dragging tubes across a weed bed all day. So it's always funny, like getting in the boat with people and they're like apologizing because they're ripping across the lake. I'm like, dude, this is great. Like, I remember doing this before we had, seat stabilizers or whatever, smooth move or whatever this stuff is. So, yeah. So no, I mean, I grew up obviously fishing a ton.
Was
And
there
then
ever a point though where like they took you fishing so much that you like slightly rebelled? You were like, I'm not going to be a fisherman. Like, or were you, you know what I mean? Like, did you
well,
ever get a little burnt out on it as a kid? You were like, nah, I ain't doing this.
I was like super into ball sports though,
Yeah. Okay.
So like I was definitely more into that than fishing during like high school and stuff like that, or even middle school and whatever. So yeah, I mean that would be the only thing I could really say in that direction, Like it would be like November and the Vikings are on or something, and dad's like, let's pull suckers,
You're
and
like, no.
I'm just like, I mean, it's like 5 degrees. Like I want to kind of stay home and watch the game or something. But yeah, so that would be the only thing. But otherwise, I have all good memories growing up. But yeah, so I mean, summer job, uh, 15 or 14 or maybe 13. I can't remember. Like riding into work with dad, riding into the office and like spending the whole day photoshopping photos for Bill Lindner because
That's so cool.
yeah, and like scanning them, like he had this big giant scanner. And you'd put the film into it and you'd scan these old, like super, super cool old photos, and then you put them into Photoshop and you'd have to like Photoshop off like the little teeny tiny micro specks of hair and like little dust and stuff. So just getting super good with the what do they call it?
The clone
Yeah,
stamp, probably.
yeah,
Something
stuff
like
like that. The clone stamp and the healing stamp and whatever. And yeah, so that was like my first job, is just grinding Photoshop for 8 hours a day at like 14 years old or
That's
whatever.
incredible.
That is incredible, though. Just like operating on fish photos in Photoshop, like even using Photoshop when you were like 14, 15.
Dude, you at 14 probably still understands how to run Photoshop better than Adam at 31. Like, I never went to class or anything for Photoshop. If I ever need to do anything, I have to Google it or YouTube, or I call Sobi and I try to explain what I want to do, and then he has to walk me through it. That's about it.
Yep. Yeah, so that was like doing that, and then as soon as I could drive, probably maybe did that a little bit more, and then started working for my dad doing some other stuff. And when I was in high school too, like I started doing the Thursday night league bass tournaments.
Yeah.
With my grandpa.
Dude, that Brainerd Thursday night league is like legendary.
Very legendary.
Cizik and Andy Walls were kind of like the head boys back in those years or whatever. And yeah, I mean, just like some really super incredible sticks that were in that league for sure. But yeah, that was just fishing with Gramps and his, in his boat. And he's just like I'm trying to think of like a more appropriate word to describe it, but he was very, very strict about like staying exactly in this exact depth, like as you're following the contour. We're like flipping on a weed edge or whatever. We'd pull up and he'd be like, all right, keep the boat in 16 and we're going to be flipping 30 feet off to the left or whatever. And so I'd be running the trolling motor and it would dip off into like 16.3 and he'd be like, oh, you're getting a little deep. Pull it up a little bit. And it was like, it was like definitely like boot camp, right? Growing up, running the boat with boat control and all that stuff. So, so that was super fun and definitely a memory I'll have. But it was one of those deals where it's like, man, I can see why my dad is so incredible at boat control, because he probably grew up with Gramps keeping them in line and stressing the importance of keeping it exactly in this depth as you're flipping up into the weeds. So, that was super fun. And I would say that was definitely probably my first thing that got me sort of into tournament fishing a little bit. And I don't do a lot of tournaments, but I am like super, super ultra competitive. And that's like a part of my personality that I've actually tried to tone down over the years, where it's almost like a negative. Like, why do I need to care so much about winning all these different things and whatever? But yeah, like that was a good marriage between just like being competitive and fishing and all that too. So, but yeah, I guess from there went to college. Actually,
where did you go to college again?
At? UND, North Dakota.
You were UND. Right,
yeah,
got it.
Yeah. So did that for a few years, and then actually my senior year up there, I actually worked for Target Walleye for like a year, I think, just basically helping. Brett had just got hired on. I think I might have got hired on with them right before Brett, maybe a few months. And so we kind of worked together, writing the newsletter a little bit. He was definitely better at it than I was, for sure. So everything worked out the way it was supposed to. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it, growing up in the family or whatever. But yeah, just being like, seeing Al like every day was cool, right? Maybe I didn't think it was as cool as some people might have, because it was
for
normal.
Sure.
So
yeah, definitely. So then obviously, so you go through that, like growing up with the Lindner family and everything in it. But so I can't remember how long it was ago now, but when did you kind of go off on your own?
Hold on. I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump that far ahead.
Fine, Sobi. Go ahead. You need to speak up more.
What did you, I'm just taking it in. I'm taking this. I'm just sponge mode right now. What did you study at UND?
Oh, yeah.
And then right after college, did you go right to Target Walleye? And then what's one college memory you had, non-fishing related?
What do you think I studied?
Nursing.
Yeah, nursing.
No, I'm a big nerd, so I actually did economics. Was my major, so definitely one of those things you don't really use professionally, but I feel like that's college.
But super interesting.
That would be way more beneficial for me right now.
Yeah, I feel like in retrospect, like a marketing degree would have been super obvious, but I didn't do that. Did you
enjoy it though? Like, did you enjoy economics?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
even all the way through college.
I was pretty obsessed with economics, I'd say, like when I was that age, like just super interested in like micro and macroeconomics. So like macro being like what's happening in the world and like why do things really happen and what is a business cycle and whatever. And then micro just being like basically like individual buying decisions of like people and like smaller groups of people and whatever. So I thought it was like pretty interesting stuff, but it was definitely one of those like, well, I'm not going to go to some like bank and be an economist, but like, this is just what I'm doing. But maybe like a huge waste of money, but it is what it is. So
yeah, I'm sure you learned different ideas and concepts.
At least you got a degree out of college. Sobi didn't. So
that's true. I mean, you got something to lean back on, son.
So we still got one semester left, baby.
Heck yeah. No. So go ahead.
And then one college memory, non-fishing related. Did you live with a bunch of male nurses?
No, I didn't. Actually, it seemed like everybody I knew was in the engineering school. It's like a pretty big. So aeronautics is super big over there, like flying planes and whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's like the biggest aeronautics like department or whatever
Wow.
in the country behind Air Force or whatever, Air Force Academy or whatever it is. So that's a big deal there. So like everybody I knew was either doing that or engineering. They had like a really big engineering school too. So
you had like smart friends, like opposed to probably your buddies now. Like you probably had really smart friends in college.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. No, God, best
You'd
memory.
find that in North Dakota.
That's so hard. So probably the weirdest thing that I did when I was in college is my sophomore year, I was just doing school things, and then one of my professors was like, oh, we're doing this foreign exchange program or whatever, and there's like a college up in Ontario, there's a college in Mexico, and then there's us, and we're like gonna do this exchange program where we're gonna like swap some kids around or whatever. So I was like, yeah, like I could just do that, I guess. Like that would be interesting to do for a semester. So yeah, so I went up to Ontario for one semester. So Sudbury, Ontario, which is like,
that's cool.
I don't know, a couple hours north of Toronto or something. So yeah.
Is that up by Simcoe?
Probably.
Kinda?
Yeah, something like that.
What was it like there?
Their accents have to be stronger than ours.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's like I would say they are like super obsessed. Like, so I went to UND. UND is such an enormous hockey school. Like, just probably, I mean, it's got to be the biggest hockey school in the US as far as just everybody who loves hockey. It's like they're there.
Yeah.
This was just some random school in Ontario, and they were so like hockey was so much bigger there. Like they're just so incredibly hockey crazed there, and like everybody knows like everything about hockey, including all the girls.
Wow.
Yeah, and like everybody is super super hardcore beer drinkers for sure.
What kind of beer?
I would say most of them were drinking not Molson. Like apparently old guys drink Molson is the deal. But what's that other Canadian one? It's like Blue or whatever.
Kokanee?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I think Labatt and maybe Kokanee too. They were
both Blue, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of the rundown on.
If people want to know, Sudbury is just north of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron.
Yeah.
So it's more to the west than I anticipated. But
that's
okay, sure.
It's basically if you were going to drive from Sault Ste. Marie to Toronto, that's the dead middle. Is Sudbury.
Wow.
Yep.
The more you know.
That's interesting just because like you always hear that like how hockey is even so much bigger in Canada than it is in Minnesota. And you're kind of always like, how? Because you could be from small southern Minnesota and it's like hockey.
Yeah.
And then you could go to Duluth and it's like hockey. And then you go to Canada and it's like, no, we do this. Like this is our sport.
I think like every town in Canada or Ontario, whatever, like any town in Canada, I think is War Road, you know, just like down the line.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they're just like all about it. So
that's sick. Okay, so living in Canada for a semester, that was it heading into winter or out of winter?
It was the second half of the year or whatever. So it was like it was winter and then it was
Well, that had to have been nice. So when you graduated, it was like 30.
Yeah, no, it was getting better. So
it still wasn't spring in May.
I don't even know that it was even I don't even know that it was farther north than where I was in North Dakota.
Okay.
At the time, you know, like I think it was like on a line or whatever. But yeah, so that was a fun experience, like fun hanging out with all the Canadians, and it was like super interesting. Like all the people from Ontario, like all of like the English Canadians, like super hated the French Canadians, and it was like this whole thing. It was like kind of an interesting interesting deal.
Interesting dynamic.
Interesting dynamic. Yep. So
Huh.
so that was interesting, but yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit about that.
Okay, that's a fun college. Did he answer all of Sobi's questions?
Yes.
Did you have
So
your
then
questions
you
answered?
immediately after senior year, do you stroll back to Brainerd and you start working in Target Walleye?
Yeah, actually, my senior year, I was working at Target Walleye as well.
And then right after graduated, translated straight into Target Walleye.
And then I worked
working
for
more
Target Walleye and my dad at the same time.
So
Okay.
I guess this is more, I guess, kind of behind the scenes, more businessy. But is Target Walleye owned by like Lindner Media, or like what are they? Their own? They're all different entities in the same office, or like how does that work out? Or maybe I just don't understand this at all, and I'm completely wrong.
It's owned by okay, so originally it was owned by Jay Kumar, Jim Kalkofen, and then Alan Ron.
Okay.
And so now at this point it's owned by, I think, mostly Jay Kumar possibly, and then Al, and I think my aunt possibly.
Okay.
So yeah,
Gotcha. But it's
That's
its own entity.
Yeah, it's definitely its own thing. I mean, that's
Okay.
a lot of people. Yeah, that has been a point of confusion, I think, over the years. So.
Yeah, I was generally curious.
And they don't have their own separate physical space. They do probably operate out of Lindner Media in Brainerd, yeah?
Brett's got an office there.
But yeah, like it's not like it's its own separate building. It's operating in Lindner Media.
It's kind of, it's a remote. It's actually like a purely remote company, which is kind of cool.
That's
cool. Sweet.
That's really cool.
So, which is like, I feel like unless you're like selling a physical product, I feel like most companies could be totally remote companies in today's day and age,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all our own companies now, but we're all remote.
Yeah. Right. So,
Gotcha. Okay, so you did that. So then, Sobi, are we able to go up to? So did you then? You went off on your own. How many years ago? Because then you were working for obviously Lindner Media or some form.
Yeah. How many years did you work for Lindner Media then?
I guess it would have been like maybe 5 or 6. So it was 2020.
It's a long time.
Was the year that I went off and did my own thing.
No, so we're about the same time frame then.
I suppose it would have been similar. Yeah. When did you go off?
Mine was COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
So April, June-ish, something like that. When I technically started.
Yeah. No. So that's that's about the time. It was just, I'm just kind of like a psycho in that I just feel like I have to have like creative freedom, and I have to have all my own skin in the game, and I just don't think I could like really be an employee. So yeah, I had to go on and do my own thing and give it a rep.
I feel like Bart, you're kind of the same way. I feel like Bart, you're the same way.
No, I'm a terrible employee. Like everybody here knows my personality. I'd be awful at that.
Yeah. No, give us. I want more detail. Like, when were you like, okay, I need to do this on my own, and what am I going to do on my own? Am I just going to be a creator? Am I going to work within the industry and marketing? Am I going to do, video editing? Am I going to do writing? Like what?
Or be in front of the camera?
Yeah. Or
like
behind it? Like what all decisions went through your brain, and what were you thinking right before you left? And what did you think you were going to do?
Did you have a plan when you left? Like, I'm going to do this. I got stuff lined up. Or did you just go 2 weeks notice, walk out, and you're like, okay, figure it out now?
Yeah, I didn't have a plan at all, which is so weird for me because I'm like such a calculator, and like I really like to really consider things and have like a master plan and all that. And I just kind of had to, I was just like, I know this is the right thing for me and this is what I have to do. And so I didn't have anything lined up. I wasn't like, running around trying to like, hit up all the contacts that I had and, tried to do all that or whatever. Like I just kind of went out and I cut it off and just started. Well, first of all, it wasn't like a 2-week notice thing. Like I told them I'm out. And they're like, you're doing a lot of stuff. Like, could you stay for a little bit and just help while we bring some people in and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so that like ended up being like quite a while,
How
like
long?
a few months maybe.
But so like basically as you were starting to fade out on responsibilities, you're still earning some money and then you're starting to figure out what you want to do, kind of.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do YouTube for sure, right? Like that's just the future, the now, even back then, obviously. So I knew I wanted to do that, go all in on that. And yeah, and then actually the guys at Northland, like I didn't reach out to them at all. At the time it was Kyle was there, and if
Okay.
anybody knows those guys over there, like
Yeah,
they would know
yeah.
who Kyle is. And Kyle reached out to me and was like, hey, he's like, I heard you are leaving Lindner Media. Like, we really like working with you. Let's just do something. I don't know what, but let's do something. So that it was at least a start, right? Just some base level of income, and then just kind of growing with, YouTube and, growing with other, smaller contracts and doing stuff just to kind of like get my feet underneath me or whatever. So, and that was in a pre-COVID world. So you didn't really, or I guess like a middle of COVID world before inflation, a pre-inflation world. So, I had a family or whatever, but like I didn't have to make a crazy amount of money like you have to do these days to do stuff. So, yeah, so that's what I did. It was really just like, I feel like I have to do this for so many reasons. So I'm just going to do it. And like, I'm just going to like trust that the man upstairs has a plan for me,
And it's where your heart was at. Like you could tell, like, even though you train in other folks and you stay there for a couple months, like that's enough time to like turn around and be like, no, I actually think I'll stay here. Like you knew, you were like, I want to do my own deal. And that's cool as hell.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Just, going out and doing, being in a position where you could like really go all in on some of the new media was pretty huge. Cause like at the time over there, like, I mean, TV is just huge, man. And it's tough to like really turn the ship really quickly in a business like that, where there's 10, 15 or whatever, like 15, 18 employees. And I was just like, I need to go.
And however many TV shows they're different type of things they got going on. I couldn't even count them all myself, but it's so many.
Yeah, they've got like 4 TV shows, like I think they make like, I don't even know,
Can you list them?
or 80 full-length TV, like fully edited full-length TV show episodes a year.
There's like the Canadian Experience, which Logan Descent shoots at now.
Yeah.
And then Angling Buzz, is that one of them, or is that a separate entity?
Yeah.
Okay, Angling Buzz. And then
they make a TV show for Lund as well. That's 13 episodes.
The Lund Experience.
Yeah.
And then they have Angling Edge and Fishing Edge, which are both 13-week series. So that's
6.
Yeah.
Like the 6 now. Like that, you're saying though, but like that's so much to transition over. And I think it's so cool to hear kind of about where you came from in it, right? Where like, obviously we all knew each other at the time and like had talked, but like we were going through the same type of thing with Clam on that side of like, we're the young Team Yukon Outdoors boys and stuff, being like, hey, YouTube. And they're like, okay, we'll dip our toes.
Yeah.
And like, which thankfully they did, but it's interesting at that time now, like, dude, that was what, 5 years ago?
Like it wasn't. I feel like it was longer, but
I feel like it was a decade ago, or
but dude,
15,
like
20 years ago.
It's really cool. Like someday you're gonna be 50, 60 years old, and you're gonna be on maybe something that eclipses podcasts, and you're gonna be talking about how you got to kind of see the evolution between, television to long form content, from to YouTube,
VHS to DVDs,
to short form, to live stream, to whatever is next, to VR fishing with Nick on his shoulder. Like you could just sit on actual Nick's shoulder and watch him fire out a jig and crawl. Like, dude, like whatever's
weird to
coming down the
think.
pipe, who knows? Like, but you're gonna
Do
if-
it. I'm gonna create an online app like OnlyFans, but it's only fish, and basically people have to pay me to I'll put virtual goggles on, and then you can like yell at me what you would like me to throw or whatever, and we'll go fishing together.
that doesn't for how much you're laughing, that doesn't sound that dumb.
No, it actually
Like,
probably would make a pile of money. We might want to cut that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's almost like doable right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
Bart's on
tells
there
me-
Tonka and the fish just pulled out. Popper, $5, $5. Popper now. He has to throw top water.
Have you ever used Twitch before? No.
Yeah.
That's not that different, you know. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. It's things are gonna change a lot, which is just weird, you know, to think about. And I'm definitely not the kind of dude who's like, oh man, like everything's gonna be crazy, you know. I'm more of like I'm more conservative with like how things are gonna change over time, right? Like I'm not the kind of guy who like 4 years ago was like, man, this forward facing sonar stuff is crazy. Won't be long before they have it where it just follows marks around the lake for you, you know. And it's like, yeah, that was 4 years ago. People were saying that, you know. So it's like sometimes I think people go overboard where they're like, oh, you know, who knows what it's going to be in 10 years. You know, it seems like things move a little bit slower than you think they are. But I do think, like you said, when we're 70 or something, it's going to be like, you just know it's going to be different. It's hard to imagine YouTube going away because it's such a
powerhouse,
such a flexible platform, right? You can put any kind of content you want on it. You can watch it on here, the laptop. You can watch it on your TV. You can watch it on anything. It's like, it's video, you know, like you can put, you know, 360 VR content on it. So it's hard to imagine that not being like the thing in 20 years, but
yeah,
you know, in 30 years, like maybe 20 years, like it might be something totally different.
Yeah, and the thing I think of with YouTube, right, is like if there is something different, you know, speaking for all of us here, it'll be the only way that will eclipse YouTube is it'll have better payment incentives or ways of growth or whatever for the creators, because there would have to be a reason for us to leave YouTube. You know what I mean?
People making content for free on Instagram, though, so I don't know if that logic totally follows all the way.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't take the very biggest, largest creators to make a platform great. It could just take a bunch of people with 30,000 followers who don't make any money that are just kicking out content. You know, if they can incentivize you to make content without having to pay you, they're definitely going to do it.
Well, and I guess more disregard the pay statement, but more of it would be a easier to use, cooler platform. You know what I mean? It would develop to a level beyond YouTube where you're like, oh, this is sick. Never really imagined this, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just basically saying, like, it's just going to be cool. Like, we're living in it, but like, it's just going to be cool to look back on. Like, you're like, Nick, you're going to tell your grandkids someday, you're like, I used to work on television shows, and they're going to be like, what are television shows? And you're going to be able to explain that from like,
I had to take paper pictures and scan them on something
put
into a computer so that you can look at it right now, because it was a physical thing, not a digital thing.
You're operating on Gen 1 Photoshop. Version 1.
For sure.
Dude, those computers had to have sound like the loudest aircraft carriers of all time when you were like editing a photo. Because even laptops now get loud. I can't imagine what the bass at Lindner Media sounded like when you were trying to do your little mask in Gen 1 Photoshop.
Yeah. Yep. No, they had some old school Mac computers. Like not like the old ones, you know, like the ones you used in school or whatever, but like the ones where the back is like this thick, you know.
Yeah.
So I also notice you can't see my arms when I do this, but
it's okay for the experience.
But yeah, no, like I mean, I can tell my kids I was, you know, plugging a cassette into my radio and, you know, recording radio songs that I liked or whatever. Like I definitely did that when I was a kid.
It's crazy.
And my kids aren't going to ask what a cassette is. They're going to ask what the radio is.
Yeah. Oh man. Like I remember, like it was so wild. Like I even remember showing my parents how I had a cassette that would plug in, and then like this was like new age. Like I did the cassette that plugged in, and a wire came out of that, and it would plug into somebody's MP3 player.
Oh, yeah.
Dude! And I was like, "Oh, dude, I use the cassette player all the time." My dad's like, "Oh, you barely even listen to cassettes anymore. It's all CDs." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm way ahead of that, dude. I have a cassette player with an aux cord coming out of it." And
dude, those were low key the best though, because we also went through that stupid generation where they stopped putting the cassette players into vehicles, so you couldn't use that hardwire, which the hardwire was like the best audio and everything you got, and you had to get one of those stupid AM FM adapters, and you would drive through a new town and like your favorite, like I don't know, 99.3 or whatever you were on was actually a radio station there.
Yeah.
So then you had to cycle through and find a new one that you could broadcast your own music on. It was,
dude, I forgot about the adapters and how you were basically playing it off that radio station.
Dude, that was only like 20 years ago. That was
not even
15, 20 years ago.
15 years ago, dude.
Yeah,
my wife still does that, so
yeah, but it works. It's just really annoying.
I forgot about that. Wow.
Trust me, there's times where my CarPlay doesn't work when I get into my truck, and I'm like, I just wish I had my cassette player that I could just plug into, because it worked every time.
It was kind of sweet. Dang. Okay, Nick. So not breaking away from it, but like transitioning from doing freelance media marketing into more of YouTube and personal content creation. Talk to me about the journey, kind of how you started, and then when it picked up traction, and then how it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I was ever a dude who was like super naturally like a savage with a camera. You know, I was super intimidated by editing, you know, and all that. So I just kind of like started making stuff, and I have some super trash videos on my channel, you know, from the way backs.
Everybody does.
Dude, like those are the fun ones to go look at.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, early on YouTube, I was making just like all these weird videos that are like nothing like what I make now. And
what were they like? Like, what were they like? Talk to me about some of your earlier videos.
Like there was just, I don't know, maybe even chasing some of like the Guggen style stuff, you know, where it was like catch and cook things, maybe like a stupid clickbait.
It is so important to find, and I'm sure you can speak on this, but like find your niche or like what your lane is. Cause like obviously you have one now, but yeah.
Yeah. So just, making stuff like that. Like I'd even look at like, random creators like PewDiePie or something and be like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to make something kind of like this, you know, or the editing is faster and different or whatever. So I have some bad videos from back then for sure. And then I just sorry, I'm like fighting back a sneeze. I just from there just kept on making videos, and it's kind of like the classic thing with YouTube where, you know, you kick out content and you see what works, and then, you know, you go more in that direction. So I don't know. Like I've definitely leaned into education quite a bit. You know, I feel like there's always a place for education in the digital world, you know, teaching people how to catch fish and whatever. So definitely leaned into that. But honestly, I've always just really wanted to be creative, and like, you know, maybe I'm not like an incredibly skilled person with a camera or whatever, but like I feel like I can think up some creative ideas. So I've always tried to play with that, and it's always just been like balancing like what kind of stuff does well on the platform, you know, like what's a proven recipe for, you know, what people want, I guess, what's proven that people want. And then also balancing that with just like trying to make stuff that's like different and creative and stuff that like I think is cool. So yeah,
Cool.
that's kind of how I thought about it, sort of kind of over the years or whatever.
All right, I got a good question for you. And I think, Sobi, you'd be able to chime into this too, but from a different avenue. So, Nick, you grew up your whole life watching, obviously, your family make TV shows, talk to cameras, do the whole thing. You held a camera probably and did all that. Maybe talk for the listeners and stuff who are thinking about going and doing their own YouTube channel. And I would even say I struggle with this now, is like, how difficult is it to get over the hurdle of going out and being like, okay, I'm self-filming right now. Like I have a camera there and I'm talking to the camera and I'm a psycho. There's so much more comfort when there's someone holding a camera pointing at you than there's just one sitting there. So like, did you have that coming from like, you get what I'm saying, from like seeing it done forever, and then you set up a tripod and try to talk to it and you're like, I'm an idiot.
I would say for sure the opposite.
Honestly. Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know how you feel, Sobi, but like when I was doing it, I'd be like, oh man, like I could probably maybe make this work talking to my GoPro or my camera or whatever. But like, oh dude, God forbid a human had to watch me try and do this, you know?
Okay. So you were the opposite. Sobi, what's your thoughts on it?
So hold on. I want to get Nick. You were the opposite. If a human is watching you do it, you didn't find any.
That would be worse for me, because it was like, oh, if I messed up, you know, like I look like an idiot in front of a human. At least with a video, I can shoot it, and if it sucked, I can just like take it from the top, and I'm not wasting another human.
Yeah. So Adam, I feel like Nick's on the same page as you. Or
no, I'm saying I think it's so hard at times self-filming.
Oh, sure.
Like you get what it like the transition from
human.
Yeah, instead of like,
oh, sure.
Like say you grow up talking to a camera guy. So like I would say this, Sobi, because I grew up with Team Yukon Outdoors, you being a cameraman. I was on videos with Perrick, you were holding a camera. The Crappie Chronicles started. I was filming with Griff and Waldo. And if I ever talked, I would turn it around maybe at my house and talk a little bit. But like, even if I was alone, you felt some level of companionship compared to you go out by yourself and you're talking to a camera by yourself and it's all self-filmed like what you do, Sobi. And I mean, what you do, Nick, like you have a lot of self-filmed videos. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a certain hurdle to get over there if you are used to talking to someone who's physically holding a camera. You get what I mean?
Okay, so I totally get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I feel like I'm almost a hybrid of both.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, because
I feel like I'm a hybrid of both now at this point.
Yeah,
I would say early on I was more afraid to talk in front of a person.
In front of a person. Okay.
Yeah. I'm okay talking in front of people with the camera if I feel like they know the idea and they're bought in. So if me and Nick go out and shoot some stuff, or if, you know, Hayes and I or Bart and I or a random friend or even my neighbor, they know what's going on. I feel so weird if there's like children and families playing at the beach over there and I'm setting up this tripod. I'm about to pop this intro like, right here.
When you and I were on the
over and they're going to be like,
when you and I were on the phone and you were driving to boat accesses to try to find where you could film your Vexus intro video.
Yes, totally.
He was trying to find accesses where people wouldn't drive through.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But then that exactly. I was trying to find that because I also do feel like when I'm isolated and I'm alone, that's when I also like think the clearest. And that's when I'm like, that's when I can really interact with the camera and like formulate an idea and a vision. And I love, as much as I love to film with buddies, I do feel like I'm the best by myself. And I think it's just because I can think it through and think it slower. I don't know. It's weird though. It's a weird concept opposed to, just having somebody else shoot it, or it's weird.
Well, and I think like a compliment I give both of you, like, and especially you, Nick, with what you do on the education side of your videos is like, when you are alone, I feel like you have the ability to kind of word vomit your thoughts. And like, as long as you do that, you go back to edit and you're like, I didn't even know I said all this all day. And you just start chopping it up between GoPro clips and you're like, this is great. This is awesome. But then you go back some days and you're like, I just caught it and it just didn't say anything. And I just threw it back. Like, you got nothing. You're like, what were you thinking? So no,
do we want to talk a little inside baseball YouTube stuff? Like, do you think this would be interesting to people?
Oh, for sure.
I think so.
Yeah, I think I think there's a bunch of people that have a lot of questions about a ton of stuff. And they like Pass the Barb because we go off the rails and talk about
there's no rules. There's no rules. This is the best platform ever because there is no rules.
And you're on the number one outdoor podcast in the world, so we might as well dive into it.
Let's go worldwide with this.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. Like, what do you guys think about the different styles of content with there's just so like I would say us three, even if you just looked at us three, there's such like an interesting variety of types of content and even just YouTube strategies. So like one thing I thought was interesting, Sam, when you and Boley were in the boat together, where I'm like, both of you guys at this point are large YouTube personalities, at least in the fishing world. We're not saying you're Mark Rover or whatever, dude, you know, but like large regional fishing personalities. Your guys' channels couldn't be anything couldn't be any more different. Where I feel like, you know, you have a lot of like interesting artistic style content, a lot of like interesting travel stuff, banter with buddies, you know, like definitely a lot of entertainment kind of in just sort of how your stuff is put together. You have Tom on the other side of things, does an incredible job with education, right? And he's all in on walleye education, and it's just like a totally different channel, type of channel. But you guys will both post videos, and you know, you guys have your own different audiences or whatever, and different styles. And then so my world is like, my channel is maybe more similar to Tom's probably, right? We're just kicking out educational style stuff. I'll maybe have like a little bit of travel stuff, and you know, I wouldn't say like super entertainment based though, but you know, mostly kind of education based. And then Bart,
and then you got the live stream and like raw stuff you've started doing now too.
Yeah, I'm trying to play with a lot of different stuff too, right? Yeah, like live streams. And
go ahead. We'll ask questions about that later. I do have questions on that, but
sure.
Yeah.
And then Adam, your stuff is like totally different even as well.
So cinematic. Yeah.
Where it's more more cinematic style, where it's almost more like the fly stuff or the hunting stuff, where it's like you got production value, and like you've got like a couple different like epic type series, you know, where it's like Crappie Chronicles, or like you just put out like this you know, piece where you kind of went through like fishing the Jude tournament and all that. So, but you're not like necessarily kicking out content every week or every, you know, twice a week or whatever it is, you know? So it's like totally different.
That's the coolest part about YouTube though, is like that all exists on there. And then,
I think it's like we said earlier, what's really important.
And this can exist on YouTube. This right here, just long form banter. Like this will exist on the same platform as all three of those different things.
Yeah. And I think, like we talked about before, what's so unique is to be successful on YouTube, I think anyways, which I'm nowhere near as successful as like, you know, other people are, like a Sobi or a Boley or Uncut or whatever it is. But find your niche and do it really good. So like mine, for example, is like I fell into the cinematic stuff, and there's times like I'll talk to Sam. I'm like, I really wish I could just film a GoPro video right now, chop it up, throw it out. But I legitimately think my audience would hate it. Like, I think they would be really mad at me, but also they might not. So you're like, well, maybe I need to try that. And that's why I'm like really curious with like I always look at Sobi's style too. Nick, you described his YouTube videos very well. I think of Sobi is just happy. Like when I go to his channel, it's like, I know I'm going to feel good when I leave here. Like, here we go. You know,
I should darken that down.
Yeah.
Legendary.
No more hip hops.
I don't think
no
you
more
could. I don't think you could.
Sucks.
Yeah, take off the funny and happy filters on whatever music generation site you're on for your editing. Yeah. And then like Nick, yours is super educational and I love seeing that stuff. But like I think what's really cool about everyone in here too, and what I want to ask you about, Nick, is everybody, as you know, everywhere is like short form's the only way. Short form's the only way. Like this is what's crushing right now. And when we started the Chronicles, I started with like 20 to 30-minute videos. And then I really wanted to make a film at one point. So I made that first otter tail film and it crushed. And then I told the guys, I'm like, maybe we're going to mess with making them like 30 to 40 minutes now. And then halfway through the winter, I made another hour and a half one and it crushed. And I remember at this time talking to Sobi about this because Sobi was pumping out like 15-minute videos. And I was like, dude, you should try to make a long one. Like it seems like YouTube really likes that. And then we've continually started making longer videos and YouTube does really like it. But I'm sure you guys see with the algorithm too. Like for some reason last year, it seemed like 40 to 50-minute videos, terrible. Just try to make it an hour or make it 30 minutes. And it's super weird. But with what you're doing, Nick, these rough cut things, like how did you come about that? Was it literally like, I just don't want to edit, I'm just gonna put this out and throw it out? Or were you like tactfully like, I'm gonna go fish for 3 hours, put this out, I guess? Yeah, how do you kind of get into doing that?
Okay, so before I did that, I would do live streams on the ice fishing live streams, and I just like anything, like I always like really want to do it up if I can. So I'm like live streaming ice fishing in a weed bed, underwater camera. You can see what's going on down there.
So
I'm
cool.
talking, I'm reading the chat, I'm catching a few fish, whatever. So like that's where it started, right? And then I had a buddy, Jace Peterson. He actually works for Northland. He's part of the famous Peterson family.
Jason Chuck.
Yeah, Jason Chuck. He was like, you should do like what you're doing with live streaming. And just like, but like instead of doing it a live stream, just post the video or whatever, like post it uncut or whatever. And it's something I had thought about, right, a little bit, because ultimately like it's super hard to interact. Let me pause this 1 second. I think someone's out my door here.
Yeah, you're chilling.
Yeah, I've got a background thing so they can't see you. All right, guys. Thank you for the cup of water.
Wait a minute. I think I see some dots on the live scope.
Yeah.
It's a good blob. That's a good sized blob.
It's a 30-incher. So I thought about it where it was like, you know, sometimes you have trouble with cell service or whatever, or just having internet ability to have like reliable internet while you're doing some of this. And I was like, well, you know, I've thought about doing that. So it's interesting you say that. And he said that a couple guys on the bass side had done it before. And then there's like a couple like kayak channels that have done it where they'll just fish for an hour and they'll just let it run 2 hours, whatever.
You talking like ND Yak Angler and stuff like that?
No, it was like probably one you've never heard of, or a couple of them you've never heard of, because I had never heard of them, and I knew who ND Yacker, or you know, ND Yak Angler was. So I looked, and there were a few of them, and like no one was doing them consistently, you know, that I had seen at the time. Like the one who had done it the most, I would say, was Tyler's Real Fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had done at least a handful of them at the time when I had done a little research on it. So I was like, this is sick. This is just like, you know, some of the live streams that I've done. So, so I just jumped into doing that. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, I love YouTube videos and I make YouTube videos and whatever, but like a lot of people really like hey, we're just letting this run. And I don't know that I could sit down and watch for 3 hours, you know. I think it's interesting if it was like, if someone like John Hoyer was just, you know, had his forward facing sonar on the screen and he was fishing and casting and doing stuff. I mean, I would probably watch it for 3 hours, I guess, now that I think about it. But but yeah, like a lot of people have left comments like, man, this is super insightful, because most YouTube videos are just a highlight reel with some tips
True.
shared in between or whatever. So actually just seeing how you're processing the water, seeing how fast you're moving on when a fish doesn't bite, or vice versa, how long you're going to stay and camp on a bigger fish or something. So, yeah, so that's kind of how that evolved. I would say that's like one of the things that is kind of interesting that I've done that's like wasn't my like original idea. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
think
probably never thought you'd make a 3-hour YouTube video, like when you started YouTube.
well, first of all, that sounds like a lot of work, right?
yeah, like if you're editing it, yeah.
I do want to also add too, you were talking about making films and whatever. One thing that I've noticed too, like looking at Jay Seaman's channel,
Yeah,
you sort by the most viewed, it's like they're just all
films.
films, or like some super virally type thing, like ice fishing with a drone or something, or
Yeah.
like something crazy. But like on his channel, his films consistently get like 4 or 5x what he normally gets, even on like a good video or whatever. So there's something to that, putting out content that's longer.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff like we did on Angling Buzz, back when I was working for my dad, we did this ice series. And my thing was like, it was like my vision for it was like, I want us to like bounce around between all these different super knowledgeable pros, and let's, keep this moving fast, but, let's make this longer, and let's go super in depth on, one general topic or subject. And those videos killed. A lot of them were like 35 to 55 minutes.
But they're
super
like micro pieces in one long
It was
form video. It was
basically,
really
yeah,
cool.
we're going out and shooting a 10-minute video, and we're posting it on our channel, like, us, like that's how we would do it. It was like 6 of those put into one video with interesting transitions between, and having them tie together interestingly with different personalities.
Yeah.
I mean, those videos like all got several 100,000 views, the ones
Wow.
that when I was there helping him putting it together. So
Why did they get the views? Did they get the views because the format was great, or because ice fishing title thumbnails?
well, yeah, no, I mean, the format has to be good,
Yeah.
because they can click and whatever, and it can do well, but the average view duration was super high.
Okay.
And I think that they were like, it'd be like spoon fishing walleyes was like one of the topics, right? And then you'd have 7 different guys sharing interesting tips on spoon fishing, from the storage of the spoons to the how you're working them to, just down the line. And I think people would probably watch it for 20 minutes and then like come back and watch it again. And YouTube's like, oh, this is sick. We can show a bunch of ads. They're coming back and rewatching this and whatever. So,
and it has the variety. It's cool, like, because that concept, it's so genius. But at the same token, it's been done before. Like, you don't have, like, in a Minnesota Bound, you don't have Ron Shera talking to the camera the whole time. Ron Shera opens it up, then boom, we're going morel mushroom hunting, and then boom, we're gonna go check out this local brewery. Boom, we're gonna go do a little bit of walleye. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much. Like, you guys added so much variety in those clips, and that's why it was so cool, because right about the time when you'd figured out what was going on, you got the education from it, you'd switch to something else. You'd be like, oh, and then you switch to something else.
Yeah.
And it was like long form fast switching. If that long form, what's the word I'm trying to use? Just long form variety, maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's quick, but it's long.
I think in general, the view duration on YouTube's getting longer and longer. I'd be curious if you guys have seen the same thing, but I think it is. And I think the main reason is there's no good TV shows coming out anymore. So I think people are, rather than like, I mean, heck, 4 or 5 years ago, I was binge watching Game of Thrones and I don't know, you name it, like Breaking Bad, you name all the TV shows. I was watching all of them when they first came out. And then now it doesn't seem like there's the same infatuation with Netflix or Hulu or Peacock shows. People want to like live vicariously through these content creators now that they feel like they actually have a relationship with. So Yeah, like I saw you posting the rough stuff, Nick, and I was like, literally made a mental note. I was like, I'm gonna check in on how this stuff is doing, because if this works, this will allow me to put out a lot more videos, because I can go do this and I can edit this in a couple hours rather than that Jude video took me like 4 weeks, you know?
And it's kind of not working, but the people that like it really like it, you know? So
Well, I think it's almost a ASMR effect where people like, I think that's got to be a thing where people are at work and they have a couple monitors and they put it on in the background. And then when something happens, they're like, oh, and then they like go back, rewatch it. And they're like, okay, that was cool. I learned that, you know, some level to it there.
that's the hope, you know, that's like what you hope people do, honestly, because, you know, if they feel like they have to sit and watch it, you know, they're probably not going to watch it that long, really. But honestly, I think, kind of going back to what you're saying about just average view duration getting longer and longer, I guess I don't know for sure if that's true. I haven't necessarily tracked it on my side. But I do know that over 50% of my views are on television, TVs, you know, and that was,
That's crazy.
10% not that long ago, you know. Sam, I'm sure yours is probably the same, I would assume.
Yeah, it's a lot on TVs.
Mine's like almost 80% for the Chronicles.
Is it really?
Almost all TVs. And that's why, like, when I edit them, I just sit down and like my mental note, what I'm editing is like, if I'm ever need to hurry something up, or like, you know, you're trying to figure out the format of your video, I like always try to remind myself the statistics literally show that people are sitting down to watch a TV to watch this video. So they are dedicating time to do it. So I don't necessarily need to worry about like rush through. It's like, tell a really good story.
Yeah. And I think part of why the average view duration is longer is maybe you know, you're obviously starting to optimize for that, right? Where it's like, I'm going to sit down and tell a good story and try and keep you here. But I think part of it is just like, it's just harder to switch when you're on a TV, you know? So people turn it on and they sit down and watch it, you know, kind of like they're usually not like bumping. Like,
dude, it's so hard to find someone channel on a TV. Like after you're in a video and you want to back up and like go back to a screen and then sift through someone's channel.
It's gotten easier though, which is why people are using the TVs more, you know? So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. I've definitely thought about that quite a lot, you know, the whole TV thing. Like recently I've always been like a minimalist, right? Like this is on YouTube. Like what's going to make this the easiest to shoot and produce and get out? Like this isn't TV. This doesn't have to be crazy. That's always been my mindset. What people really want is they want the info, right? If you're going in the educational direction, you know, like that's the important part. Like if you have good info, it doesn't matter if you've got fancy stuff. That's been my mentality. But seeing that so many people are watching on TVs now, one thing that I've started doing is uploading all my videos in 4K and shooting it all in 4K, you know, because like 1080 doesn't look super, super good on TVs, you know.
It's true.
But the 4K stuff, just the way they compress it, it's not as bad as the 1080, you know. So
yeah, I've been debating doing that for I shoot everything in 4K. I could easily export it in 4K, but I just haven't done it yet. So I've been debating doing that one for a while.
Totally
I probably will next year with the Chronicles or at some point this summer, but yeah, especially with the TV thing, that makes sense.
One thing I think you're really crushing at, Nick, and it just goes back to the long form and education and everything. But like you said, even though they're getting a lot of info out of your videos, you're doing a really good job of, and it's just the way you're setting up with whether it be your underwater cameras or your live scope or anything. Like, I think we're in an age of consuming where the folks want show, not tell, especially in long form. And what you're doing is by them being able to see how you're working the bait, see your screen, it's like the best visual experience you're ever going to get of watching somebody fish. You're literally in the boat with you, actually better. you're better. If I'm standing over your shoulder, I don't get that clear of a picture of your live scope screen as I do when I'm watching it at my house. Like, and without just like, even if we had to bring it back to TV, like old school TV, when they didn't have SD cards as big as they have now, where they're almost pre-hooking the fish and they're pulling out and going, yeah, let me tell you about this spoon. You know what I mean? It was also like, here's fish. Let me tell you about it. Now you're literally, you're show, not tell. And you're showing the bait go out there. You're showing how you're working it. You're showing everything. It's so cool. It's an amazing visual experience for the viewer. I love it. And I think that's the future. You showing all the screens, showing underwater, like that's the live streaming. That's the future of where content's going. Long form. I really think that. There'll always be a place for films, Adam. I know you're going to say that, and very creative work, but I think things are going toward Nick's steel.
Well, yeah, I would say the caveat of that is like, if you're doing the like fishing vlog style, I guess, or like a day of fishing, right? Like if you're doing that style, I do agree. Like it's going that way. Like with what Nick does, where like, and Clayton does it and stuff. And Clayton does it really well too. But
Clayton's
it's just like
super pioneered, like showing sonar and stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also getting so much easier to actually do. Because even like 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, heck, using Vexlars, oh my God, it's so hard to film a Vexlar. So getting, like, when you get it, and it's gotten easier with GoPros now because you can change the frame rate and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But still, even 5 years ago, it was super hard. But yeah, it's like showing that experience. And that's where I would say with that too, is like, kind of we talk about with the content side, is like, if you're going to be a Buddy Jaron, be a Buddy Jaron, be a short form, crush it at that. If you're going to be a Sobi, crush it at that. If you're going to be Nick Lindner, crush it at that style. Or if you're going to do like the film style like me, crush it at that and do it. Like, because then when I feel like when people come to our channels, they want that. They're like, I'm coming here for this. I know what I'm signing up for here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super reasonable. So first of all, I appreciate that, Sam. I would also say, like, I just don't even know that that's like 100% always true though either. Like, I feel like there's just like all different types of content and it just all works, honestly.
Yeah.
And there's so many different appetites. I think if you're trying to teach someone, you know, like, or I think any of the above. I guess I don't disagree with saying, you know, showing more and just, you know, having better angles and stuff, you know, to show more. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's always a positive, right? Like more information, more, you know, understanding of just like what's going on in the boat, you know, whether it's the sonar screen or like some sort of head cam to understand the point of view as you're, you know, doing things. Like, all of that is super good, you know, but also like, I think that you can like look at Matt, Stefan, Randy Blockett, where it's like no cut, and Tyler Berger's doing some of it too. Where it's just like, no, you're just
that's all tell, not show. So that totally contradicts my idea. Well, because in my brain, I was like, well,
you have to do it consistently. They do it every single day. I think Matt Steffens uploaded a video every single day for like 3 years.
I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, because I was like, in my brain, I've just like been racking on the show, not tell thing. I love that concept. I think that's where viewers are at. And even you could go to somebody like Outdoor Boys, who he's doing his camping and stuff. Like, he's doing so much showing and very little telling. Blah, blah, blah. And then he's doing it. He's doing blah, 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 doing blah, blah, doing, showing him walking. He's showing, not telling. And then you hit me with freaking Randy Blockett and Stefan. And I go, well, that totally contradicts everything I was just thinking. But if that's the flavor of what the audience wants to listen to, like, it's almost like the podcast thing, because the podcast thing is all tell, not much show. So
no, it's interesting too. It's funny. The first ever Outdoor Boys video I ever watched was he was like building this snow fort. Like, I think they must have gotten like 13 feet of snow in Alaska that year or something. It was just insane. And he like the whole video. So I walk in and my kids are watching it. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This isn't Mr. Beast reacts or whatever. Like
Yeah.
something's going on here. I got to check this out. And he's like shoveling out like these blocks out of snow, and he's like shoveling them all out, stacking them up. And so he's digging down into this super deep snow, and he's basically he's making a snow fort. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So at this point, like, I'm like 3 or 4 minutes into this video and he hasn't talked yet. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. This is one of those like cool, like satisfying, outdoorsy, whatever channels. I've never seen this. This is pretty cool. That must be this dude's deal. And then he starts talking a little bit once he gets later into the video, just explaining, about how he's going to be camping in there and whatever. But it was like a pure, show don't tell or whatever.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, Outdoor Boys is a great example. But I just thought it was ironic you said that, because the first video, he talks in his videos, but the first video I ever watched of his, he didn't talk for like the first 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I was so like intrigued about what was going on.
And even he has a really interesting channel. Like even when you do watch his videos and how he talks, he has such an interesting pace to his video that it's you could call it rough cut at him, but there's an art form to how he edits his videos.
Oh no,
and how he's done it. Like
yeah.
You watch a couple of them and you'll be like, oh my gosh.
I've watched his videos.
Yeah,
I've watched some. Like, because I literally went over there and I'm like, okay, I want to watch this editing style and see what it is of like, because obviously in my videos, I use a lot of music and sound generation to evoke emotion. They use none. So it's like, okay, I want to see how they use nature sounds and stuff like that to evoke emotion. And it is just as powerful, but completely different. So it's like cool to watch how like, snow shoveling or chopping up wood. It's like, it's 100% ASMR, but it's like cool to see that. And also that there's a channel so big doing it. And like you said, Nick, there's so many ways to do it. And I like what you said when you said, there's so many different ways to do content and it all works. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, cause that is the biggest thing, is just going and doing it.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, they definitely, just making good content, like that's kind of what it comes down to. But yeah, the Outdoor Boy stuff is interesting, like, because his videos are so crazy. His cuts are insanely fast. And I've watched a lot of kids YouTube stuff. Yeah. And like, obviously like a hallmark of kids YouTube is fast cuts. You can't stick on anything too long. You got to be moving. Outdoor Boys honestly is maybe the fastest cutting channel I've ever watched.
Yeah.
There's Sobi, did you ever watch any of those kayak tournament videos I sent you?
Blanchard?
Yes. I think. Let me look.
Maybe I think
that's who it is, from California, Clear Lake. Yeah. So have you heard of him, Nick?
I don't think so.
I'll look it up quick. Continue. I'll look it up and then I'll go on my little thing.
I'll see with the Outdoor Boy thing. Like, so the cuts are so fast, but the content doesn't feel like fast. Like it doesn't feel like brain rot, Yeah. Like you don't feel like they're trying to like just give you this dopamine high sugar,
Or that's like what a Mr. Beast almost feels like to me. That feels like a dopamine. Yeah.
I've had people comment on Chronicle videos before that they're like, I come to watch fishing videos to chill, not feel like that I can run through a wall, and took 4 shots of caffeine after. And I'm like, well, that's fair. But no, the guy so it's Greg Blanchard. You're right, Sobi. He's got like 140K. But Nick, you should watch him. My buddy, when I was at the Open in La Crosse last year, we didn't have cable, just had YouTube on a Roku or whatever. Then he turned this guy on. And like, I watch YouTube now, but not a ton of it. And I need to watch more of it. But I remember every night sitting down and watching this guy and like wanting to watch him. And I was trying to figure out what it was. And I ended up sending it to Sam and being like, this is the fastest cut fishing video I have ever seen. And it's like dude, he is just cut, going, cast. Like, but you never feel rushed. Like, you just go through it and it's so like cool. And there's not a lot of music in it or anything. And I was like, okay, this is sweet. I need to remember this. But I
Sam,
think in order to do a lot of that, you have to get rid of looping on GoPros, which is a habit I guess I'll need to get out of, unfortunately.
Sure. Sam, do you feel like with your content, you've actually made a really conscious effort to do the opposite, to leave some of that like dead space in some of the cuts to sort of not make it feel relaxed, not rushed content?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let it breathe.
Like, I let it breathe. I feel like I've tried to let it breathe more over the years, and it's so much different when you go to watch content than when you're even editing it, and especially if you're like fast at editing, because I'm like, I just feel like I was catching myself.
Yeah.
And then I watch it back, and then it's like, whoa, like you need to watch it back like how an actual human watches it back, like not like you're on freaking crack, dude. Like, chill.
That's how I edit
like,
too.
Yeah, like it's so it's been hard. It's been I feel like creating content is always hard, and it's I don't feel I feel like I'm faster at editing now and different stuff, but I also don't feel like, oh yeah, no, I got to process down. This is what I do every time. And like, I'm really dialed in. Like, no, I don't feel that way at all, shooting or editing. So it's a forever puzzle, I feel like, but I am definitely trying to make adjustments.
So like what, I guess coming up in the future here, Nick, like what, talking about all the YouTube content, what are you looking forward to doing maybe this summer or in the winter or something that you're like, okay, like this is going to be coming to my channel that you want to start diving into more? Because I think we all have a bunch of different ideas and stuff we want to do. But yeah, I'd be curious to see, because I do feel like you push the envelope in terms of style and like just doing stuff a little different than everybody.
Yeah, that's kind of my goal, right? So part of the plan or the goal is to just keep on trying to push the envelope a little bit. Like in one of my last videos, I did like a uncut video, so no editing, and it was a 1v1 with my buddy TJ, and we had the live scope on the screen at the same time. So that was just something that's different, right? So we've got this uncut thing. But like, what if there were two people on there? I was talking with TJ and I was like, well, what if this was a podcast? Like, we really tried to beat each other, but what if we were both just fishing and it was a podcast and we were just chatting and we were both just catching fish and looking at fish on forward facing and just like hanging out, and it could be topical or whatever, or we could have a guest or whatever. So that's something I thought about a little bit, but
how hard was that to do, the dual live stream? Was it tough?
No, it wasn't hard. It was just like really super.
Was it a live stream or cut?
It wasn't a live stream.
Yeah.
I know. I don't want to call it a live stream, but yeah, how hard was it to do?
It was like a lot of footage. So like when you've got like, so we did it for 3 hours. So the whole video is 3.5 hours. So we have both of us with like one full long thing. Like in reality, it's not hard to line everything up and get everything like timed together or whatever, with like the live scopes, the main cameras looking at us, some of like, we put a head cam on while we're measuring fish and stuff like that. That wasn't like technically difficult to do, but it was like, I had like probably at least a 0.5 terabyte worth of footage on my timeline. So like, I've never edited off of I have a big like hard drive on my computer. I've never edited off a hard drive. Usually I'll just pull everything local and it all is, super, super reliable that way. But yeah, I had to edit this one off of a hard drive because it was so much footage. It must have been at least a 0.5 terabyte.
Yeah, if it was 4K for 3 hours, then
it was all 4K.
Yeah, it would have been about 0.5 terabyte.
Yeah. So it was just like logistically challenging, but
and your computer screamed at you.
yeah, it didn't like it. And I usually don't have that many issues. And when you spend $4,000 on a computer, you'd hope you wouldn't have very many issues usually. But yeah, so I don't know, just like more interesting stuff like that. We did something last year. We went up to Rainy Lake. Me, Brett, McComas, TJ, Erickson. We went up to Rainy Lake and did a walleye cup. That's what we called it, and it was whatever the rules were. We competed. We're gonna do more of that stuff in the future as well. But I think combining that all together into like kind of an epic video, where they're longer and it's, a lot going on and should be like an interesting viewing experience. So that's something we're definitely going to be playing with in the future as well.
And I am excited to see that. And because I watched some of that Walleye Cup stuff, and it's still crazy to me that I feel like the only person or the only people who've really cracked the competitive YouTube side of like filming those things is Jay and Aaron.
100%.
And there's so many different things you can do, but like compiling the people to go do it and whatever it is, like, yeah, it can be incredible, but it's hard to do. And especially on the ice side, God, it would do so good.
Yeah. So I think it's cool, right? The hard part, like, those guys, yeah, I think because they're 39-hour routes, when they do competition type stuff, it kills for them.
It crushes.
And so much of the content I'll make is like education and whatever. And it doesn't always, the competition stuff doesn't always kill for me. I don't know that that's like what people are wanting or whatever for me. So that's always a tricky thing to kind of balance,
Sobi's been getting death threats for not putting out Attorney Tuesday yet. Till this week.
Yeah. Dude, the competition
subscribers were mad.
The competition stuff would be so cool on the ice, slower. Like just even seeing Jay's last stuff, it was very high end produced and it was very fast, which was cool.
Incredibly fast. Yeah.
But it was so fast. It was so fast. I would love to see like just like what you did, but on the ice side, like it'd be so good, really long. I'd want it long and I'd want it slow. Like, yeah, it'd be really cool, like cool to watch, not just be any sense of a part of.
I think just the thing I've been most excited about seeing like what you've done, Nick, and what a few others have done, but really you with the longer stuff and the live streams and the rough cut or just full day fishing is people like it. And seeing, okay, like forever it felt like there was this pressure to make sure you edit this really good video and put it out. And now realizing like, oh, people just want to see content. Like they just want to see it and put it out, and it can be rough and it'll be fine. And like, it almost feels like the pressure is coming down a little bit. You get what I'm saying? Or like it's self-inflicted pressure for sure. But I feel like when Sobi and I started doing it, a decade ago or whatever, it was all this produced, chopped up, cut really well.
I'm sure video. Same with you, Nick. Like at Lindner Media, I'm sure like there's tons of stuff that you're like, we don't have enough for a TV show here. Or, this isn't good enough for a TV show. Like there's probably so much of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something you kind of like learn over time too, like what you need to make a video, and what's ultimately it's like what makes a good video, And it's not always like, oh, you have to have a 25+ inch walleye to put at the end of the video or whatever, like as the close, like TV show folks would be like, it'd be fishing for an hour and a half and they'd catch like, a 6-pound bass and they'd be like, all right, we're going to shoot the close. Let's shoot the close. It's like, what do you mean? We just started fishing, like if you're telling the story of a day of fishing, it's like, that's kind of weird, but also like to have a big giant fish at the end of the video, at the end of the TV show is cool, like cap it off with the giant, and some excitement. So, but yeah, like what does it take to shoot a video, and it's like, well, it's like, what is a video, and like back in the TV days, like a video was 22 minutes. You got commercials in between. You got an intro to set the scene, some fish action, maybe a couple decent ones, one little sidebar tip, 2 little sidebar sponsor plugs and then a big fish to end it, with some combination, those things combined in some order, but like today, what is a video? Could be a 2.5-minute video showing how to hook a minnow. It could be 3 hours uncut, raw, no editing, just fishing with the forward facing on the screen. It could be a podcast. It could be like an adventure out to South Dakota this spring and going to the diner with Hayes and whatever.
Yeah.
It could be some epic crappie fishing, up north, or just it could be telling the story of Red Lake and you need 10 different interviews and a bunch of fish catches and whatever. Like there's just like a million things it could be. So it's like, is there less pressure now? It's like, well, I don't know. Like, what do you want to make? Like Adam, you were saying earlier, you felt like what you were describing was pressure. I couldn't put out a video because
I think Adam feels, I want you to talk him out of this. I think Adam feels cornered in films. I think he feels cornered in films and large cinematic productions. They are beautiful. They're amazing. But I want Adam to make something raw, stupid, and dumb. And I want it to be 10 to 30 minutes long. I want it to be really raw. Because I have to talk myself off the ledge all the time of like, dude, there's no rules in YouTube. There's no rules. But I think Adam has given himself a rule that he needs to only make films or series.
Yeah, well, and that's changing because not necessarily. Yeah. Okay. So part of it's changing. Well, because Sobi said the series thing, like I am still going to focus probably primarily on series and like films, but I have a way I'm going to be doing it where I'm going to have more rough cut videos and stuff like that to like consistently put out content. And I don't know if I've ever wanted to be just, I guess I say the everyday YouTuber for the longest time, but now it's like I kind of do, but you've always thought that forever. So you feel cornered and you're like, okay, what way do I actually want to go about this? So, I have a lot more stuff I'm going to be putting out and coming with, but I have always like highly respected Jay and Jay's channel for the fact of he has these wickedly cool films and then he has videos. And it's like, okay, you can hop between those. But I also still love, like, one of my favorite channels to watch for fun is Wildfly. I don't know if you watch them or not, Nick, but
I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, that is what I would love for my channel to be. Just like it's more videos, but it's more cinematic, like storytelling stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have the self-inflicted pressure on myself, I would say right now, of every video I do is being like, how do I make this one even cooler or edit it even better? And then I'm calling Sam 4 weeks into editing the Jude video. And I'm like, dude, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't stare at this same film for that long trying to make it better and better,
Well, so like another interesting item, and this is like kind of inside baseball a little bit too, is like you putting out all of that content that you're making is like, hey, if you are a company that needs video production help, like I make high quality content, and maybe you don't have to make as much YouTube AdSense as someone who's only doing YouTube or whatever too, like this is like your living portfolio, but maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want the YouTube to be, the all at one point, but I think like guys like you and like Jay Siemens and honestly, like you Sam as well, like just showing off your shooting editing props is like the best portfolio in the world to like show companies that they should hire you to make promotional content for them.
Yeah, I feel bad that this interview suddenly has turned into a psych ward interview on me, but no, I do. I like that, Nick, because I mean, it is a battle that I've had personally of that, but yeah, there is a way around it, and like I do want to, like that was my biggest thing this year, and why I'm only fishing like 3 or 4 tournaments this year was for the last 3 years. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do open water content. And then tournaments would start. I'm like, no, I'm fishing tournaments. It get to like July and I haven't put a video out yet. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going to do it. Or I hadn't even shot one. So now it's more of like, okay, need to actually do this because, yeah, just I don't want to feel like I waste a platform because eventually it gets like, we've done the Chronicles for 5 years and it has a great following and I love it. And it's built a great base. And it's kind of, I had this spring to really, I guess, think about, okay, I'm very appreciative for that. I'm going to continue doing the Chronicles. It's awesome. But I think the bigger failure in it would be not if, say, the Chronicles ever ended. It's been super successful. It's great. That isn't a failure. The bigger failure on my part would be not to continue on from what it has began and go do more stuff from it. So that's where, yeah, I now have like the Jude film, which I'm super pumped about. And I have more series and trips and stuff that are going to happen that I'm also pumped about. And like I said, I saw your like 3-hour fishing thing with TJ. And I was like, okay, like I love that. I can get on board with that. Just going out raw fishing, doing it and showing it. Like, I love that idea. And it also takes the pressure off of only producing super highly edited stuff because it does burn you out eventually.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's sort of an interesting thing. One thing that I feel like is hard is being in that mindset where you always have to do better than the last one, like that's what you described earlier. And I feel like, and dude, I could be way off in this because I don't know the psyche of it, but I feel like that's where like Aaron kind of is on his channel, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like his content is super incredible. And and like I wonder if he would put out more videos if he didn't feel like that next one had to be better than all of the rest of them, so that's kind of an interesting aside.
That's what's weird about content in general, or is I just feel like, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and a person goes back and forth. Any creator, no matter your style or anything, goes back and forth because it's not like we're just roofers. You know what I mean? Where it's like, that house doesn't have a roof. Let's put a roof on it. This is how big it is. This is the materials needed. Let's do the roof. Go to the next roof. Do the roof. Go to the next roof.
Yeah.
Like each project. I mean, it could be, but also like, you're right. But if you're, it could be. And I think to probably, yeah, but like if you enjoy the creative process, then I feel like making it into that type of a deal is really tough.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you're a creative dude, Nick. Bart, you're a creative dude. Like, it's not, the answers I feel like just don't come super easy unless maybe sometimes they do. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining it right.
No, you are. It's like so I would say, like, in my brain, I don't currently think this way, but this is the way you would equate the thought process right now. And like what we're talking about with Aaron, maybe it's like this, but it's like, I'd never want to go back down. And if you look at a video that isn't highly produced with all these different angles and super cool, you're like, well, that's below me, which it's not. Like,
yeah,
all fishing videos and whatever content you want to put out and however you want to do it is super cool. But you get in this entrapment where, like I said, you do a series for all of a sudden 5 years, and then you do a mini series chasing ghosts, and I do the Jude, where you're like, I can't go on my channel and find one that's just like going fishing.
Yeah.
And then it gets hard of being like, I'm just going to go put one out going fishing. Like, it's almost harder. It's almost a harder hurdle than starting in the first place, is like kind of changing your style. But I mean, I have a lot of ideas of different stuff to do. I'm sure you guys do as well. But just certain ways to break that creatively. Like, for example, like one of the trailers we did for the Chronicles, the whole thing was sound design. Like there was not a song on it. It was just sound effects. And like I had thought of with your Outdoors Boys thing, like my next one will be like, I want to make a whole video without a song, but not like, just not necessarily like rough cut up or whatever, but like actually have the natural sound effects and go where it's really cool. We're still being creative, but it's not the same thing. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Here's one thing that where I contradict myself all the time on, but like this is about putting out more content. And I'm at fault to this, but when I look at it in a different standpoint, I'm like, oh, why not? So I was riding in the car with Hayes the other day, and something like
Buddy Hayes.
And Buddy Hayes fishes more than anybody else, I think, in the United States. For sure in the Midwest. I'll put my hand on it. He fishes more.
Spock?
Yeah, Hayes fishes more than him.
Okay.
Just because Hayes does that as a job too, you know, like.
Doesn't Spock like dig for agates and stuff too?
Yeah, Spock has a side
hobby. Yeah. Big rock guy.
But
he started, just slight plug for Spock. He did start a TikTok. It's called Spock's Rocks. I don't have a TikTok. I told him to make an Instagram. I want to see it. I think he's going to be the next Mav. I just told him he needs to film him and make a Spock's Rocks YouTube, and he'll be enormous in like 2 years.
On TikTok.
He is crushing on TikTok.
But let me finish this thought here. Hayes was going to post a picture of a big walleye from Vermilion. He's been up there a long time. Spring has already passed, and I realized like his previous picture before that was him holding a big hybrid crappie from on the ice. And I'm like, dude, Hayes, why are you not posting? Like, Hayes has thousands of fish pictures, awesome fish pictures with buddies, different fish, weird scenarios, incredible shots, and incredibly big fish of all species. I'm like, why have you not been posting pictures? And he's like, I don't know if they're like good enough to post on my feed. Like I want my feed to like look good. And then I like spend a lot of time with him in the winter, but I don't spend a lot of time with him, in the summer or fall. I'm like, no, dude, I want you to be like, I want you to like post. I want you to post a lot more pictures. I want to see the fish you're catching, opposed to him just like sending me a text or I never see him. Like, I want you to post them. And in his brain, he's like, they're not good enough for my feed. Like when I look at my carousel of all the feed, and I'm like, wow, dude, it's truly like the only person that probably cares about that is him. And just like us, like if something's not good enough, like truly the only people that probably care about that is us. People would just like to see more. Yeah. I just want to see more Hayes. I don't care if some of his shots are a little bit out of focus or the fish was not quite a 29 incher. It was a 28 and it ate it sideways. Like, I want to see that, dude. I want to see all these pics. Like and that's what the people want to see too. They just want to see more. It's so internalized, I think.
Yeah. I think when I've killed it the most on social media, and I'm not like a social media savage or anything, but like when I've killed it the most is when I'm just slapping stuff up on there. And then I look and I'm like, oh man, my feed is ugly. If you look at my thing, it's like, oh, this looks like a big giant pile of mishmash, but I'm doing better than ever, right? Where I'm getting more followers. I've got a bunch of reels up there getting views and whatever. And I'm not like really good at social media, but I do it a little bit and whatever. But like, but yeah, like when you're just throwing stuff up there is the deal,
Yeah. But like, I watch you all the time on social media, Nick. I love your reels. I love your pictures. I see it all the time. I never go to your profile and just go, let's just look at this from afar and see how they all look together. I'm not looking at your profile as a thing. Like I'm just coming across it because I follow you. You know what I mean? Like I'm never going back to Bart's and being like, well, let's just see if this all goes together and see if this, kind of looks right.
Yeah.
No, it's all very dumb.
It's so dumb, but I have it in my head. You have it in your head. You have it in your head. It's weird.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. A lot of the times it's just like make content, and experiment. That's the thing. Like I've always felt like the biggest hole you can get in is like when you pigeonhole yourself. And I would say, like, Adam, maybe you're like on the furthest end of the spectrum, maybe, where it's like you feel like you have to do this cinematic film thing. And then, like, I'm maybe a little more towards the middle where I'm like, I gotta make good content. Like, it has to have good information, but it doesn't have to be any like one specific format. Like, maybe YouTube isn't necessarily impressed with me doing competition things, but like, as long as I'm staying somewhat educational, like I can veer around a little bit, as long as I mostly stick to walleye, whatever. And then, like, there's some people where, like, Caleb Wistat. I don't know if you guys have met him.
Yeah, I know Caleb.
Yeah, his
Not
channel,
well, but I've met him. Yeah,
What's his channel?
Wisconsin.
Hooked Up Wisconsin.
That's
Okay.
he's a clam guy. You met him before.
Yeah. I've seen his channel.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a killer channel. But he really, honestly, it's really interesting because for me, I can't put up a video and have it do bad. Like, I feel really bad about that. And like,
yeah,
I hate putting in the work and not like getting great viewership. But he just rips videos up there. And I'm not saying he's willy-nilly and this isn't quality. I'm saying, like, he isn't afraid to go outside of his box, he's from Wisconsin. Excuse me. And like, it's okay, if you're a dude from Wisconsin, like, making walleye content's probably going to be you're going to get the most views probably on that. Maybe some panfish stuff, whatever. But he's ripping up videos with trout, with walleyes, panfish, bass videos. So he's got bass videos with huge views.
Wow.
And like, he went down to Florida and posted a video fishing for snook from the beach, and it was like his normal video but in Florida. And it's like, I would never put that on my channel. Like, that's not going to get any views. YouTube's going to be like, what are you doing, man? Like, this is your lane. Like, stick with what we know your audience likes or whatever. But
he doesn't care. He just goes for it.
And honestly, his channel is like, I think a lot of people would love to trade channels with him because he can post a lot of stuff and get viewership on it, and maybe he doesn't have the guaranteed, like, oh, I can get 15,000, 20,000, 25 every time. Cause it's like, oh, if I do a ice camping video, guaranteed 25,000. He doesn't necessarily have that, but like, he could post a bass video. He could post a trout video. He could do a fillet video. He could do a catch and cook video. Cool. And he's kind of fostered it though. You know what I mean? Where he's been not afraid to fail when he's posted videos. So I think he's been rewarded for that. So that's kind of an interesting thing as well, But if I started ripping out bass videos on my channel, I wouldn't get any views.
How do you know?
Maybe I don't.
Well, and I guess this would be like, this is me talking out of both sides of my mouth, but it's like looking back at too, where we say, when you get into YouTube, find your niche and stick with it to like grow. Cause that's like how you grow quick. But then if you look at like, dude, like when we fell in love with watching YouTube and we was doing stuff or the Googans or whatever, it was always different and it was always changing it up. And it was just vlogging what's going on in their life. And like, I still think of the channels I love watching now. Like I say, Wildfly, like it's all fly based. However, all the species are different. The locations are always different. They're traveling around and it's super cool. So I think there's still ways to go push, out of your boundaries. And like, that's like my whole goal for the next year is like, okay, go do different stuff and push out. Because the one thing I think I can come back to, and this is just me talking with my content, for example, right? Like Nick with your educational, I feel like it would be the same thing, or Sobi with your styles, is I think people love coming to my channel to watch me tell stories. So it doesn't necessarily matter what story I tell. They just want to see a story. And like with Nick, like they know when they're coming, they're like, I'm gonna learn today. And I'm gonna, I'm gonna learn something cool.
You're
and
gonna
be able
learn
to watch
today.
that process.
I would
I'm
love
gonna
if you
learn
started your
today.
videos out. You're gonna learn today.
Everyone be like, you ready to learn? You're gonna learn today.
We're going to school with a K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like diversifying and doing that stuff. I'm super admirable of people who go do that. And that's kind of one of my goals for the next year is to just go do different stuff. Because as much as I love the Chronicles and everything that's on my channel, the one thing that does drive me nuts when I go to my channel is I'm like, these are all Crappie Chronicle videos. Like we need to get some other stuff in here.
Yeah, heck yeah. Are there any channels that you guys have really enjoyed just as consumers of YouTube? Like fishing related or not?
That's a great question. That's my job. Please stop taking my job. I ask the best questions. So I'll ask it.
It's true.
Nick,
That's
is there
nice.
any channels that you love that you really just love to watch as a viewer, maybe even back in the day or right now?
I'll answer only if you guys promise to think of an answer as well while I'm answering.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so YouTube. So okay, a few different things that I've kind of started liking. Business. Okay, so here's an interesting category that I've sort of gotten into lately. And like maybe my channel is this category. I don't know. But like content that's like it's a video, but like low key you can just listen to the videos. So like political commentary discussion, business tip discussion where it's like they might be putting info graphics on the screen, but I don't have to see them, So like 20-minute videos that I can just like press play, put in my AirPods and like mow the lawn or drive somewhere or whatever. So there's like a bunch of different channels kind of like that, but that's like a category I'm feeling myself drawn towards where it's like I don't have to watch it, but I can just kind of listen to it. So that could be educational videos, but like a lot of just commentary type things and stuff like that.
What's the channel name? Is there one specific that stands out that you're like, this channel, I really hit it when I mow the lawn?
I don't know. I don't know that I've got like anything I can name per se. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good example. A lot of times it's just searching things too.
Yeah.
Searching and listening, it could be like a news outlet or, like a clips channel for like a Twitch streamer or something like Ludwig, if you've ever heard of him or something like that. So that's like a genre I've kind of been sort of into. But like me and my family have always really liked Ryan Trahan. Like going back before he even did his Penny series before. I don't know. Have you guys heard of him?
No.
I have not.
Whoa. Oh, that's crazy.
How do you spell it?
Ryan and then Trahan.
I feel bad because I'm not nearly as big of a consumer as YouTube as I should be.
Yeah, and I've got like a little variety going on, right? Because I've got my own personal thing, and then I've got kids that have their own things that they kind of watch too. Ryan Trahan is amazing. So it's like there's almost like some Sobi vibes to the content, but he's had a couple like really, his videos are great, but he's got a couple like really good series. So right now he's
probably a good looking dude too, pretty good looking, I'd say.
Super good looking dude. Yeah,
very
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I get that, makes sense.
Yeah, no. Super smart, dude. Super smart.
Smart. Damn it, he's smart too.
Yeah. Extremely
knew it.
Hardworking. So he's like in the middle of a series where he's like, it must be sponsored by Airbnb or something. He's never been like brought to you, but like, yeah, he's going to Airbnbs in every state. So,
I actually did see this. Okay.
Yeah, he's like a curly haired kid.
Yeah,
like,
I did see this.
25 or something. His content is super good, but he's got like these really cool series where he tried to get across the United States, starting with $0 or starting with a penny, or whatever.
Cool.
And it's like a big fundraiser thing too, so people can donate. And if you reach donating thresholds, it like wipes away all his money and like blah blah blah. So he's got a great channel. I mean, he's definitely worth looking up, and it's definitely targeted towards kids, but it's not like painful to watch. Like,
Yeah, it's not like you can't watch it.
me and my wife love it. Super good. So he's good. I'm actually surprised you guys haven't heard of him because
I'm gonna look him up.
he's large.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that 50 states thing that he's doing, the Airbnb thing.
Yeah. And then here's like a weird off the ball one that I've been watching sometimes. It's called like Briggsy Sport Fishing or Briggsy Fishing.
I think I have
Ooh,
seen
I
this
feel
one as
like-
well.
I feel like that sounds familiar.
He's mostly like he's like a POV point of view, or maybe it's on his chest, I can't remember. And he does like all different types of fishing in Australia. But a lot of the content that I'm drawn to is like his shore fishing stuff, where he'll be like walking the beach in Australia and he's like wading in like a foot of water and there's like little sharks swimming around, or he'll hook up with like a GT and it'll take him for a rip. But everything's like super wide angle, like the visual is crazy. You'll
And
see
he's in Australia. Like I've seen this. It's very beautiful. He's got epic
Yes.
thumbnails. Like he's got
epic thumbnails, just like cool. He's just walking the shore making casts, you know, with stick baits and whatever. Like it's just like really neat content.
Do
So
you
those
think,
are a few
do you
that I
think
like.
the reason you watch his channel is a little bit of the reason why some folks watch ice fishing?
Yeah, where it's go ahead.
Where they don't ice fish? Like they can't?
Maybe. I mean, what's cool about ice fishing is you can be so creative with how you film it, right?
Yes.
You're not like stuck in this boat where there's only like 2 possible angles you can have. And you're walking around, like you can just tell so many different stories, right?
Completely agree.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe 90% of his viewership is in Australia. I don't even know. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy fishes by us. That's cool. I have no clue. Or if he's widely distributed, you know, like, I don't know if it's like Wicked Tuna, right? Like, why did we all watch Wicked Tuna? Like,
I don't know.
none of us tuna fish, you know, like, but it's
Speaking of the
going out and doing this thing. I don't know.
Speaking of the geography thing that I thought was funny is like the difference between like Canadians that know Canadians exist but don't know we exist. Like when we had Clayton on, we had him bring up his like demographics. And we're like, how many of your people are American versus Canadian? And it was like 50-50. And like Sobi and I look at ours and it's like
90-10.
90-10. And
Yeah.
you're like, there's all these Canadians out there, but they don't look at any of us. But
Yeah.
all we do is watch the Canadians.
Well, it's even weird. Like when I was working down south, none of the guys had heard of 39 Hours, like season 1 when it came out.
Isn't that strange?
I showed them all it, and they're like, "Whoa!" Like John knew, but like everybody else didn't know, and it was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa!"
Yeah.
No, so to answer your question, Nick, I have a couple channels.
And it
Okay.
can't be just Wildfly.
Yeah, so and that's
Art is a Wildfly
Wildfly.
super fan, big
fishing,
time.
fishing wise. I would say Wildfly. In the sense of I might be the third member of the podcast who starts fly fishing trout soon. So my disappearance is imminent. But yeah, I love watching Wildfly. It's just cool. And it's more of like Scotty could fish for whatever and then not be trout fishing. He's just such a good storyteller. Like so good at telling stories. So I love watching that. Just it helps get me ideas on how to tell stories. One I haven't watched recently, but I had been in and out of watching them a bunch. And like I was one of the first subscribers on their YouTube channel. Have you guys heard of Sickos? You have not?
Now I'm looking. No, I've never heard of them.
So
It's like a kids channel or no?
It's a group channel. It's a group of buddies who. So I think his name's Jackson. I can't remember his last name, but I follow him on Instagram. But basically, he filmed professional surfing or skiing or something like that, and then he came back to his buddies in Mount Hood, Oregon, and they had like just graduated high school or college or whatever, and basically had some money, and for a summer he was like, all right, we're just going to try to start our own YouTube channel, and they just film wild, crazy stuff. And he's an insanely talented editor, and just fun to watch. So like, I literally, when the Chronicles started, I was one of their first subscribers, literally, and now they're at 1 point something mil.
Wow.
Like, crazy explosion.
Yeah.
And it makes, like, that wouldn't happen necessarily in the fishing universe, but it makes me think of, God, if I just did this full time and I had a a tenth of that would be cool. So I would say them for, like, I like watching stuff where I can get editing ideas from. So I've always enjoyed watching his stuff. He has sick angles and all those. Another one, only a few films have ever come out, but if you guys haven't watched Potato Boys, Kyle Van Dever edited it. But like, all those ski films, dude, are so cool. They're so cool to watch. It's kind of like the Australia Factor. The guys are wild. The personalities are crazy. And
I've never seen that. I'll watch it.
you haven't watched the Potato Boys? Oh, super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, they only have 2,000 subscribers, but they've got a couple videos with some views.
Yeah, there's only a couple of them out, and Kyle produced them, but they're just a good change up. They're very sweet, like cool voiceovers, like voice actors and stuff like that.
Oh, sick.
He just has a lot of, like, that's actually what gave me the idea for the intro of, I don't know if it was season 4, whatever, the Chronicles, where I had the girl do the voiceover.
Yeah, which
like,
was insanely cool, by the way.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But that idea came from watching a Potato Boys and like some ski films. And I was like, oh, they do that. Nobody's ever done that really with fishing. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get a girl and have it be like Mother Nature.
I liked it.
Yeah. So we did that. That was a good drop in. That was a good blob right off the break.
That was a 30-incher, 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't like how it's set up, though. It was already under the boat, which doesn't help.
Yeah, not good. It knew you were there. And then the last one. So I spend most of my time, though, the content I consume in my free time tends to be podcasts, which obviously have video form too. But it's normally around sports because, like you said, Nick, I'm a huge sports fan. So I listen to Pardon My Take, whether I watch them on YouTube or podcasts. Every episode, I love them. So that's kind of what I spend my time with. And then whenever they put out a video, I watch one, like whatever it is, their punishments or whatever they are. But speaking of Sobi, when are you doing your rod?
Only time will tell.
Do you think he'll ever do it, Nick?
I didn't really hear what you said. Do his what?
His punishment for losing fantasy last year, where he has to fish a tournament with a Barbie pool. It's not even like a hard task. He literally could do it on Attorney Tuesday, and he just refuses to do it for some reason. I think he hates all of our listeners.
I hate our fans.
Yeah, so obviously he's not going to. Like,
no, only time will tell. Like, I mean,
here's the thing. I think you're pushing him too hard. I think he's gonna pull it out when he's.
This needs to be my idea.
He's good and ready.
You're gonna learn today. This needs to be my idea.
I also know Sobi. Him and I grew up together, and there's no one better at letting an idea or something die quietly and just letting it slide off.
Let it just die over here.
So I have to keep bringing it up because he does succumb to peer pressure eventually.
Sure.
No, so content I like to watch. So I'm a pure soul. I just consume nature and I translate that into video. And
I will say,
dude, back in the day, you were a huge Casey Neistat fan.
No, yeah, I could do Casey, and now modern day as far as shorter stories. I love Casey's brother Van. Van hasn't posted in a little bit, but I love Van. The way he tells the story is really interesting. He's not like Casey. He's does it a different way, and it's really cool. It's fishing content. I love like Bass Talk Live. I love podcasts. That's where I feel like I stay up to date with what's going on with Bassmaster, MLF, stuff like that, all the anglers in it. I breathe BTL as far as podcast goes. And then just a little little entertainment side. I'm really into this creator called Patrick CC. and it's basically just documentaries on kind of celebrities or different folks that you might know. A lot of it is like their downfall or why this happened, or just like, you know, the downfall of Kanye West. And it would go through like his full life, you know, timeline of like, you know, here's when he started making beats and doing this and blah, 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 blah. Like, even like this, I haven't watched yet, but 7 days ago, he posted one, the stunt that forced a legend to quit, Travis Pastrana. It's just like a really cool, it'll be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour long of a documentary, just kind of about this idea on this person and their niche. It's really cool. It's like really documentary style. And it's something that I can also listen to and not even watch too sometimes. I like it.
Yeah. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, they're like really entertaining. Like you could even watch them with your kids too. They're not, your kids could watch them, and I think they think they're interesting.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Sorry, I'm kind of pulling it up at the same time as you're
chilling.
As you're talking good about it. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of like interesting content out there where people are like going deep on certain subjects and stuff like that and breaking it down. And I don't know, it's interesting too, because like a lot of stuff Adam brought up is sort of like related to, I don't know, like I just looked at some of it. It's like, man, there's a lot of like interesting cinematic stuff in here and whatever. And like, and you even mentioned like that you're, you know, taking inspiration from some of it as well. And then, you know, so there's some of that stuff where it's like, we watch it, Casey Neistat, of course, we're taking inspiration from that. And then there's some of the stuff that we just watch and it's like so different than what we do in the fishing world. And it's like, can we take inspiration from that too? You know, like the channel you just brought up, you know, where it's like, man, it's pretty different, but like, could we make something like that about a certain topic, you know, going deep on like, like it was like, I don't know, the way you're describing it almost reminds me of like when Crappie Chronicles went to Red Lake, and it's like, we're uncovering like this thing. It used to be a thing and now it's coming up, and like, here's why it's cool. Here's why it's interesting. Here's the story of it. Oh, and now we're going here, you know? But yeah, I don't know. Just something I think about, I guess.
I will say, I hope it happens to all you guys, but like having a video like that where like nobody had seen Red Lake crappies for decades and getting home in March and being like, I have this. And I don't think anybody has it. And then sitting on it for 8 months was like I had it backed up like 8 different hard drives. Like it's just a cool experience putting it out and being like, did it. You know, like when you're first to the punch on something, it's like, God, it's a cool feeling. And I know you boys will have, I mean, you've done stuff like that even before, but that was a cool one.
For sure.
And there's so many stories and stuff like that out there, dude.
I feel like that's the feeling all of us Midwest creators get when we like finally find ice. Like, I found stuff. We can fish it. We can film it. Let's get it out.
Like when Nick posted his first ice video last year, and it was like, God damn it, there it is, the first one. I missed it. There's the competitive part of it. You're like, someone beat me.
It is always a race, right? That is kind of the funny thing about it.
And I never count the like Murray. Shout out Murray, love Murray, but I never count the like 2 inches where he's punching through, then he kind of falls through video that happens every year.
Trout guys or whatever.
Yeah, I never necessarily count that one. It's like the first like actual out fishing one. I'm like, oh, they got it. You know,
I want to take that concept and flip it to the other side of the spectrum, where I saw a video that Jay posted today. Like, was he ice fishing today?
I saw that today.
Yeah, he was up in none of it. Yeah,
he's the last one. He's got to be the last.
He did it. He did it.
He's the first one, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, true. Are we closer to the beginning or further from the end?
We got to be closer to first ice than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw that today and I was like, unbelievable. It was an attention grabber, no doubt.
It's the end. It would be the end.
Okay.
But I do like that you brought that up. In about a month, it would flip, I think.
I actually saved that in a tab to bring up because I've got a few tabs up here on the top or whatever. And I was like, oh, I should bring up the J thing because he just posted it like an hour before you guys started the podcast here. So,
well, those are like trips. That's what I want to utilize my YouTube channel for. And I know like I think we all want that, is just to go on these really badass trips, film it, and be able to look back on it. Like I think when I first started YouTube, I remember having a conversation with Sobi, and he was just saying like, just make stuff that you're proud of, and you have all these memories you can go look back on for years. And like I do, like I'll go watch the main videos randomly and be like, that was sick. Can't believe I got to go do that. Or like go watch Sobi old school videos from like Thailand, or like when you guys went to New Zealand and just watching them, you're like, this is mental. Like, how did you ever do that? So seeing Jay doing all those experiences, I get major FOMO.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny too. Some of the nostalgia content is funny. Like I went back, maybe it was this last winter, and I watched like just a few of the videos where like Sam and Mav and Murray and Perrick were just running around.
And that's yelling at each other.
Were they bad or were they good? Or were they weird?
They were really not good. Like,
probably, yeah.
But there was definitely nostalgia watching them. Like, oh wow, like this is crazy. But like, do you remember? I mean, just back then, I feel like it was so rough, and looking back at it now is like just a bunch of giggling kids messing around at the gas station and then going out or whatever. Like, they didn't feel good. I mean, you should go back and watch them. Maybe you can disagree, but I mean, they were so cool at the time, you know?
Well, I think back, like Never Stop Tour is what made me be like, oh, I want to go film fishing. Is like when that tour came through Minnesota and stuff. And I remember forever talking about, oh, it was filmed so high end and like innovative and edgy and all this crazy stuff. And I remember going back and watching it like a year ago, and I was like, this literally is not crazy at all.
Super standard.
It is so standard.
But at the time, it was like.
But at the time, it was. And you're like, holy cow, like that's crazy.
The goalpost has moved for sure.
But it's also comes back to, it told a really good story. It was just people who went fishing for 10 days and they got 7 videos and told a story. That's all it was.
It's kind of interesting too. Like I think back to your guys' Perrick stuff. And then I also think back to like In-Depth Outdoors. And there was really something special about like, where are these guys now? You know?
Yeah.
And like, do we still have that now to some degree for certain creators? Like, is it like where did that person go? Like the Perrick thing was cool. Like you guys are running around and it was like, oh, you guys are on Mille Lacs. And then it's like, oh, you guys ran up and fished with Simplosky. And it's like, where are they going to go next? And then next thing you know, like
now they're in Texas for half a day. And now they're in New Zealand.
I think it was so consistent too. We were so consistent with it. And there was obviously less to watch on the platform, less creators that everybody always wanted to know like, oh, where are you going next? And we would be quiet about it, not telling. And it'd be almost like everywhere we go, it was almost like you would reveal like, holy shit, now they're there. And it was cool. It was really cool. I don't know if that exists anymore.
I don't know either. It's kind of.
That's the one thing I would love to see come back to YouTube. That was what I always loved. Was like when someone pops up somewhere new and you're like, oh, they're there. Yeah. Or, oh, they're here. Because I feel like, I mean, and this is, I guess we're all victims of it to some level, but a lot of creators have been like, oh, I can go get exactly the same amount of views if I just go out to my back door and I just go film a bluegill video right here. It's going to get 20K here. It'll get 20K if I do it over there. I'm going to do it right here. But like back then, once again, the goalposts were so much shorter. So it was like, oh, we're going to keep pushing the envelope. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. We're going to do this. We're going to hop here next. And all of a sudden there was all these people all over the world chasing fish. And there's stuff happening everywhere, and in-depth outdoors is all over the place, and
Yeah.
all these things are changing, and it seems like it fizzled out. And that's one thing that, like, I mean, I guess with what I want to do, that's like one thing I'm going to chase, is constantly changing locations and doing things. And because that's what I love to watch. Like whenever a new series came out that people were in Indonesia or GT fishing, or Jay does a film in Alaska, I'm like, all right, well, I know what I'm watching tonight.
That was, God, when the IDO days were so sweet too. Like they would pop, boom, they're here. They're boom, they're here. They were chasing bites, and it was always so, they were bouncing all over too. That was always so fun to see where they would pop up. Like that was a huge thing.
I feel like
That
there's a lot of hype. Yeah,
There
where
was
it
so
was
much
like,
hype.
oh, they went to Leech Lake, and it's like, here's how they caught him on Leech, and it's like,
Yeah.
all these dudes from the Twin Cities are going to drive up and go to Leech now, you know?
Yeah.
I think so much of that was like, let's keep an eye on IDO because that's where maybe we could go up and fish or something.
Yeah.
But it's like similar, but just almost different than like what you guys were doing with Peric, you know, where it's like, I was excited to see where you guys were going to go, but not because I wanted to follow you, but just because like, I don't know why. I mean, why do you think there was like so much hype with that? You know, like why was that so exciting to like watch, you know?
I don't know, but it was cool.
I felt like it got exciting when you guys, especially when you guys came into our backyard. Like it was exciting for me, which makes me think someone in Wisconsin, like, oh, that's exciting when the crew comes to Wisconsin, you know? Or
yeah. When Peric originally went to Minnesota, that's like Bart went to go see him.
Yeah.
No, Jay introduced us via like text.
But
that was the beginning of everything.
You were gonna go.
Then Sobi got hired shortly later, and yeah, everything changed very quickly from one trip to Dick's Sporting Goods in Bloomington.
Yeah, that's where you went. You went to go his meetup at Dick's, or yeah. Damn.
But yeah, it was chasing stuff all over the world, and I hope we get to see more of that. I know Milliken does it a bunch. Yeah. But it's like Sobi said, there's so many people putting out content now that I don't know. I just think there's a unique way of delivery with it now, of the way people do it. Like when Jay drops stuff. And
is it just so hard to travel like and do that like sustaintably? Is that why that's the hype?
It's so expensive.
No one's even doing it anymore. Like,
yeah, I don't think people are doing it
probably
it's so expensive.
And the amount of just degeneracy, come on, you have a house, you have a family, like you have a wife, like dude, like we were freaking gone so much when we were doing, like we were spent the whole year, 2 years on the road, like crazy. Like it would almost be, you'd have to be like a Buddy Jaron without a girlfriend, and have a team of like an editor and like to replicate just the consistency of I don't know.
I do think there is a thing too, though. Now we're really inside baseball on this whole YouTube thing now, but I do think there is a thing now as well, where when Sobi was first doing it, it was about like, dude, you guys were doing what, 3 to 5 videos a week?
Oh yeah. Well, probably, yeah.
Around there.
For sure.
3 at minimum.
Yeah, minimum, so a lot of times 5.
And I think now with the amount of content and stuff's out there, like, I guess I could be wrong, but I feel like 1 or 2 videos a week is really all you need to do to see a lot of growth and go. I'm sure you can do 5 a week and it'll explode more, but like, there's not necessarily, I feel like, the same pressure to just go. Because you guys, I remember talking to you, Sobi, you were under immense amount of stress and lack of sleep for like 2 years.
Yeah.
The revenue must have just been nuts on that channel, though. Like when kicking out that many videos a week, like, and all of them.
Oh, it had to have been dumb. That's why Eric's retired.
It was, but also you got to remember, this is a time when.
And your expenses, though, were crazy.
Crazy expenses, but this is a time when we would fit a full day 1, day and a half action-packed stuff all the way from Chicago to Alaska in a 10-minute video, and it'd be really iconic. But it'd be a 10-minute video or a 15-minute video. 15 would be like long.
Yeah,
longer.
a lot of like 7-minute videos and 11 and whatever.
Yeah, like we do, and this was a time just that was like a long form video then. Like, so nowadays when you have creators that hit those crazy numbers and they're doing like your Outdoor Boys hour-long video, 2-hour-long video, those channels.
Yeah, those that's money.
That's
ad
crazy.
They're not doing 10-minute videos. They're doing like, or those channels that like they build a mud hut for like 6 hours and they got like 27 million. Like, I don't even know like what some of these.
I mean, the CPM's got to be like at least 20, if not 30 or 40 bucks on stuff like that. Like, it's got to just be crazy. But I also, dude, like, Randy Blockett is making big money on that channel, and that's putting out.
Yeah, I did math. I did math.
Yeah, he's making easy six figures.
Oh yeah,
on YouTube AdSense a year easily, and it's putting out 1, 2, 3 videos a day.
Just like, sitting and talking to a computer.
Well,
there goes Nick
setting up the cell phone on a tripod and just talking to it for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and like. Mad money. So, but yeah,
I've debated selling out and just going and sitting in my garage once a day. And talking.
I will say he has so much consistency, and he's interesting enough. I do think I would be interested if he started like traveling around, and all of a sudden. Boom, he was in Chicago. Boom, he was at the MOA doing this. Like, boom, like I'd be like, no way, dude. Randy Blockett's in Minnesota. Like, I think I'd be like, whoa. Not like I'm gonna go see him. I would just be like, that's interesting. He's here.
I would watch.
Yeah. I think if I was 60 years old, 70 years old, and I hated LiveScope, Randy Blockett would be my guy. Like I would have a poster of him on my wall. Like I would be.
Oh, trust me, you'd have all the time to comment on other people's videos who are not Randy fans, as we have experienced.
I'd be raging on every Instagram reel.
Dude, they flock. It's crazy. They come out of the woodwork. And every one of their profile pictures are the exact same. It's awesome. Like he's got a demographic, dude, and he's got all of them.
Yeah, no, for real. It's funny. I don't know. It's funny too. Like you guys are so respectful, and some of the other podcasts too. Like with like Matt Pangrad, he like didn't want to name any names. He's just a good professional, and But anyway, that's a whole.
Do you think you'd ever get wicked edgy with your content, Nick?
I mean, it depends on what your definition of edgy.
We could come out and put out a Randy A video on Nick Lindner fishing.
I would. I mean, I would.
Dude, you want a content idea here? If you want to do it, you could do it once a week. I would like you to put out a video that just goes, and every week the title is just like 1,000 fish didn't eat my bait on LiveScope. Why, Randy? And then next week it's 1,032 fish didn't eat my whatever. And all the video is fish denying you on scope, and you going, and then like going on to the next one. And it's just a weekly accumulation. And you do that, you would hit it. Like you'd get a ton of views.
This brings up an interesting thought. I got to ask you guys, and then we'll let Nick go. He spent a lot of time here. Like last question, just now that we talked about that. If you had to start a second channel tomorrow, what would it be? And what would the content be like on it, and why?
It'd probably be an educational channel about how to make sourdough bread.
Are you actually good at making sourdough?
Dude, all the bitches are all over that right now. You would rake it in.
You crush.
No, I don't know. That's a good question. I've actually thought about that a lot. And I've thought about how much that makes sense to do. And I've had discussions with different people too, because it's like there's different types of content. Should you do a different channel for different types of content? Because I'm a little all over the board, right? I have a lot of my educational stuff, but I like to mix it up and do different things. So it's like, do you ever make a new channel for like a different genre of content or whatever? But I think if you said like gun to your head, you have to make a new channel tomorrow. So like go with the one you're leaning towards the most at the moment.
Yeah.
I would probably do like a Randy Blockett style channel. Not like or Randy Blockett / like Matt Steffen.
Yeah, where you sit down and give fishing tips.
/ Todd Castledine. I don't know if you guys have watched some of his stuff. He's super good with that format. I'd probably do something like that because it's like it's kind of a cheat code, you know? Like
total cheat code.
Maybe you're not getting 50,000 views per video or whatever. But like those guys farm, you know?
They farm.
They get a lot of views. And I'm not saying I'm like a view greedy dude and like I don't want to create art or you know what I mean? But like but it's just like it's a really neat spot to be in, I think. And I think I would go more generic fishing as well, you know, which maybe that wouldn't even work. But like I think it'd be interesting to get out of the walleye world with a second channel, you know. I could also see doing a second channel with something walleye related, but just different. So I don't know. What about you guys? You guys can't.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny that you say get out of the walleye world because mine would be I would tell myself 7 years ago when LiveScope came out to learn how to walleye fish, and then I would only make walleye videos because it seems like every guy who makes walleye video just absolutely smashes.
Yeah, it definitely works. Like walleye,
because there's just until I mean, like being real, until you know you did yours and TJ and I don't know maybe one or two other guys. The last 2 years have kind of started gaining a lot of traction. It was Tom.
Yeah, it was Bully. Yeah,
end of discussion. Over.
Every other walleye
no competition.
Yeah, every other person who did any walleye content was sort of like also doing other species, you know, mixing in multi-species. Here's some walleye stuff. Here's some musky stuff. Here's some bass stuff, panfish, whatever. So Tom's the first dude to go all in on walleye. And it's just like, it's a thing. Like there's a real audience for it, right? I mean, there's musky channels out there that will get consistent 10,000 plus views. And it's like, think about how many more walleye anglers there are than musky anglers, you know?
Well,
like
the problem on the bass side is there's so many bass fishing channels.
Yeah, an incredible amount of competition. So like the walleye market is a super good one. And like that's first of all, I really, really like walleyes. So that helps. But like part of the reason that like I like being in the walleye world is that there is less competition. And like the bass world, I do feel, and this might not even be true, but I always feel like a lot of the attention is monopolized by the tournament trails, and the tournament pros.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that's for sure true because you look at guys like, both the Tyler's Reel and Bass Fishing HQ, Tyler over there, and like there's a million other channels, you know, like Tactical Bass and blah blah blah, and like
Sobi.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a million. Like so, maybe that's not even a fair thing for me to say, but I do feel like it's extremely competitive, and like the tournament pros are definitely have a big shoe in, just in general, but I do think there's space for like generic fishing information as well, you know, which I would love to get into. I'd love to dabble in, but it's hard enough to do one channel, honestly. So
yeah, I've always had that thought too. Like it's always hard enough to do one channel. Like it'd be tough to start a second one. But what would you do, Bart?
Well, I don't even feel like I have a full-time channel right now. Mine has only been in the winter.
No.
So
You
it's just-
heard me. Gun to head. You
So
start
it's
a
just
second channel tomorrow. You have to. You don't have to give up your other channel, but you have to start a second one tomorrow.
Oh boy. Like I said, it would be doing walleye stuff. I'd have to figure out how to walleye fish though.
You could do a channel on like
I could literally just start a channel being like Bass Guy learns to walleye fish, and I go out and I'm like, I know nothing about these things. These guys just seem to chase them around with live scope, so I'm gonna go try that now, and then just document me learning to walleye fish.
Walleye fishing with only artificial.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'm not buying live bait, and I wouldn't catch a lot of walleyes, but
depends where you live.
yeah. Unless I went to Cabatoga, then I'd have a great time. They all eat a jerkbait.
What about like, would you guys ever make a non-fishing YouTube channel? Like,
I would golf.
Golf?
That would be the other one. Yeah, I would go to, because golf channels are, I mean, dumb enormous right now. And the ones that are really good are the guys who are either really good or the guys who kind of shoot around where I do, which is at like upper 70s to low 90s, where like you can hit good shots, but you're going to really mess up a couple times, and people enjoy that because they can relate to it. But I would say golf.
They just document the golfing.
They literally just go golfing for a round. Yeah. People, dude, the golf channels are enormous. Enormous. Well, Sobi, I mean, you're what the old manager at Guggen is managing Good now?
Yeah.
Which is like one of the biggest golf channels in the world.
And the audience for golf was even bigger than fishing.
Oh, monumentally larger.
You think there's more people who golf than fish?
Oh, like yeah, not even close.
Do it.
Not even close.
It's so expensive to golf. Like,
yeah, but it's not even close. And the people who golf are like, they golf. And when they're at work, they have golf videos on. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And I don't know how much competition's in the golf world for viewership, but I feel like it is still not as competitive as the bass world. The bass fishing world is so outrageously competitive on YouTube. So to answer, I guess your question is like starting a golf channel, but on the fishing side, and like what I'm going to be doing in the next year or so is like more of that multi-species and doing stuff. Coming walleye fishing with you guys because I want to learn more about it now that I don't have to troll. I'm excited about that.
Trolling is fun, though. I also think trolling is kind of
fun.
It
is not.
I think it's fun at times. You need to be in the right situation.
It depends on what it is. Like if you're just grinding crawler rigs over the weeds and you're just processing bluegills and like that's a grind. Like, or if you're open water trolling lead core or putting out boards, like that's kind of a grind. There's something like really fun about straight line trolling at night with your buddies, though.
Yeah. And if you're not, and the video is not the purpose, like that's what I'm saying. Like even like Steph and I will go out and just freaking flick back shad wraps and husky jerk sometimes, and like just drink beers and hang out on Friday night trolling. Like if we get two, no big deal, but like. It's fun, dude. It's actually so fun, Adam. Like you'd love it. You just sit there with your controller and your remote. You're just steering,
or you just let it follow the contour, and you're just like chilling. And all of a sudden, you're like, the boat's doing something weird, and you're like, oh my gosh, we got to the end of the contour. Why are we zigzagging? It's because we were running on this contour for like 3 miles, and then it turned into some weird little zigzag point that we can't follow now.
Adam, I think you'd like it because you can also just sit there and watch your side imaging and bullshit and whatever, and the amount of random stuff you'd be like, oh,
I have a lot of stuff I want to go catch. And that's like, I don't know. It was forever.
And you're like, trolling is the last thing on my list.
Yeah. I want to go cast for stuff. I want to catch some lake trout. I want to catch some muskies. I want to scope some walleyes. I've been like, dude, I'm a huge tour level gold fan. I love watching it.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah.
It is weird though. Like, dude, one thing I would say one of my I love all those things that you just described. But I would say like I want to go out and scope walleyes and catch some big bass and catch muskies and all that. Like, but some of my favorite times out fishing has been like when me and Brett have been out at night trolling, and we haven't even done it a lot. We've done it a few times, but you're pulling cranks and you're out from sunset at, I don't know what it is in spring, like 7 or something like that. And you're trolling until like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and you catch like 2 walleyes, but it's like a 25 and a 29, and you just freak out when something grabs it. And like, you have some drinks and some snacks, and you're just like hanging out and just chatting. And yeah, it's so fun. And usually it's like, yeah, it's like a little cooler at night, so you got your jacket on, like with the crisp air. There's just, it's actually, and I love casting more than like anyone. Like I probably won't troll ever, like even if I have to in a tournament and whatever, but like there's just something fun about night trolling.
Well, let's close this down here.
You're ready for bed, aren't you?
No, it's been 3 hours. I feel horrible keeping a guest for 3 hours. Nick has been so freaking awesome. We went through his whole story, and we really did talk some inside baseball, YouTube inside baseball content in the fishing world. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And all I can say is thank you. Thank you for giving us all this time, Nick. Seriously. Thank you so much. Go follow Nick on his YouTube channel. Go follow him on his socials. We'll link everything down below. And yeah, any parting words, Bart, before we hand it off?
Oh, for Nick, does Nick have any parting words?
I have a question, probably mostly for Bart.
Oh no,
Sam, you can top in if you got it. But what about that big French center the T-Wolves drafted? Have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, a bit. Dude, NBA draft picks, it always takes like a year or two.
He's 18, so it's
not going to matter for 3 or 4 years. The only thing I can say is I trust Tim Connolly. He's built a hell of a team, and he's made a lot of moves that I've thought are really weird, or like, what are we doing here? And we're 2 Western Conference finals in a row and like really good. So it's like, I'm not going to question it. It's whatever.
Yeah. Heck
cool.
Yeah.
And if it sucks, he'll figure out a way to trade for something really good. He's figured it out. So that's my thoughts. But it's exciting. Like, it's cool to have a young guy that's super raw, and you're like, could be Giannis, could be out of the league in 2 years.
Yeah.
So
no, I love it because Giannis wasn't picked until like pick 16 or 17 or something.
I don't know if he was that late, but yeah,
14 maybe 14.
Yeah, I think he was in the teens. I could be wrong. I'll look it up.
But I hate to ruin it like a really good outro. So I didn't mean to get us on a whole new topic, but
no, it's always. Thank you for bringing T-Wolves into here because we're passionate fans. And
he was the 15th.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there you have it. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I guess my only parting words would be go Wolves, go Ant-Man, go Jaden McDaniels.
Nas Reed.
Keep scoping, never stop.
Keep scoping, never stop.
Whoa, t-shirt idea.
Wolves in 5. Yeah, I like that. As long as John B doesn't sue us or anything, I guess.
So. You said take more risks earlier in the
yeah.
Yes, 100%.
All right. No, that's beautiful. We'll sign it off, I guess, in the only parting words we could, the way Nick said. So subscribe to our channel and everything. And until the next one, Nas Reed.